The Centresteer podcast is sponsored by Commonwealth Classics and Knightsbridge Overland.
This month's Centresteer podcast is sponsored by Commonwealth Classics. Commonwealth Classics is a direct importer of classic vehicles from Europe and South America and has a rotating collection of rare and unique vehicles in their showroom located in Virginia, just 45 minutes from Washington, D.C. Visit www.cwclassics.com to view their current inventory of classic vehicles. Thanks, Commonwealth Classics, for your continued support of the podcast.
The Centresteer podcast, a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners.
Welcome to the Centresteer podcast, podcast number 124 for July of 2023. I'm your host, John Costage. Joining me around the virtual campfire, Harold, Morgan, and Dixon. Welcome back, gents.
Good day.
Yeah, it seems like so long since I've spoken to you.
I know.
Yeah, and it's good to be here as well. Sorry I missed you guys at the Vintage Grand Prix.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry you couldn't make it. We'll talk more about the Grand Prix a little bit later here, right before the news. This month, we have Steve Owen will tell us about his return trip home from the Diamond Jubilee in TCM, which is his Series 1. Plus, you're invited to ROVICON 5. Eric and Greg of the Northern California Land Rover Club tell us all about it on probably the most famous off-road trail, certainly I think in North America, the Rubicon. And it's called ROVICON, and it's the 5th one coming up. And we're also in search of a NAS Defender 90 for Caroline Pratt's wedding in September. Caroline will join us right after the news to share why this D90 is special to her and her family. Centresteer is a long-form podcast that comes out once a month, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We appreciate each and every one of you, including Owen, who's down in Australia. He had a recent job change and was able to re-engage with the podcast. So welcome back, Owen, and good luck with your new job. He's catching up, so I'm not sure if he'll listen to this particular episode soon, but he said he's catching up with the podcast. And a second shout out down to Australia. Also, Mike has become our latest Patreon supporter. So thank you very much, Mike. I'm awaiting your address to send you out some stickers. And finally, thanks to Bob Steele. He provided us with some brown water, as Bob does. So he says, thank you for sharing the insights from the 75th Diamond Jubilee. How nice to share two individuals with whom have made such a difference in our world of Land Rover, Bill Burke and Mark Latourneau, and honor Daphne Green, Kim McCullough, Bob Burns, Nick Rogers, and Nick Dimbleby. Thank you for having Nancy and Greg on the podcast. It just doesn't get any better than this. Brown water all around. So thank you, Bob. Thank you, Oren. And thank you, Mike.
Brown Baron rides again.
Indeed. For the past year or so, we have been reminding you to get your Rover ready for the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. And it finally happened. We celebrated Land Rover's 75th at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. Morgan, you couldn't make it, but you were supposed to come down and do the maiden voyage of the newly reframed, I think that's the right word, of my 109. And since you couldn't make it, we let PAX drive the 109.
Pax did a good job. He showed up. It was all very last minute because he came in Friday night and had things to do. So he shows up Saturday morning and it's in time to jump in it and go, and pulls into the shop. And I asked him, so you've driven series trucks before? No. You've driven right-hand drive before? No. You've driven stuff with under-boosted drum brakes and manual steering? No. Please tell me you've driven something with manual transmission. Oh, yeah, no problem there. All righty, we're late. We got to go.
Yeah, you seem to do a great job.
I'm glad he got to series. At least it's a, late Series 3 synchros all around and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, he did all right with it, and he brought the fam. So, of course, the daughter loved it. She liked riding in the back most of all.
I bet.
Not on highways, just for the record. I want to be clear about that. It was only at the Grand Prix itself under very low speed.
Closed course, professional driver only. Do not attempt at home.
I don't know. Do we say that Pax is a professional driver? Maybe. I guess he is now.
You paid him to drive your truck, didn't you? You gave him beer, right?
That's true. Gave him beer. Everybody that registered and showed up, we gave them beer.
All right, then.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, Pax helps us out on the audio of the program. He volunteered that years and years ago.
Yes, he took pity upon us, and so he has volunteered to make us more listenable.
So I guess that was payment, was letting him drive the 109. So I was able to attend the Grand Prix. I drove the 110. We had about 25 people registered for the Land Rover showcase. Off the top of my head, we had a D1, we had a Discovery 4. There was certainly a Series 1, my Series 3. There was a D90. There was a Defender 110. There was a new 110. There was a Range Rover Classic. There was a new Range Rover. And most importantly, there was probably the only functioning Freelander on the planet. Was there? It was actually a G4 version of the Freelander. It was there last year, and it made a return trip to the Grand Prix.
Don't believe it unless there's photos.
There are photos.
We want video. We want video. We're upping it.
I have invited him to the podcast so that we can talk about the Freelander. Isn't Mark Love's Series 1 or Series 2?
Nope, that's a 2A.
That's a 2A.
It used to have a Series 1.
That's right. Okay. And thanks to Ray Hall dealerships, the Land Rover North Hills and Land Rover South Hills, they have two of them here in the Pittsburgh area, for sponsoring the tent, water, and the showcase area. So that was very helpful to have our own place to sit and relax out of the tent that we could hang out under.
The sun was still pretty intense, so yeah, it was nice having the shade. Yeah. And all we had to do to pay for it was keep answering people's questions when they say, "Where's the BMW tent?" I don't know.
I don't know. Yes.
Where's all the Ray Hall people? I don't know.
They used us as a backdrop. They had a 130, they had a 110, I think they had a 90, and they were parked up in front of us, and we were a backdrop to that. So they were nice people, and were able to show off the new trucks. And we met some new people too that came out. We had folks come from over in Eastern Pennsylvania, and they came out, and it was nice to meet them. Certainly PAX, came from New York. The thing that I wanted to do the most, and I think was really cool, was the parade lap. So on Sunday, we lined up along with a number of other cars. I don't know how many cars were in this parade lap of the race course. It's not a race track. They were clear to say it's a race course. It's on the city streets that are part of the Shenley Park and part of that also go around the golf course. And we lined up with all the other cars. It was 10 of us had lined up, 10 Land Rovers lined up. I was immediately behind an Aston Martin, which was really interesting because the Aston Martin would slow down and wait. And then when he was able to get a nice stretch, he'd gun it and took off.
Suck my tailpipe.
It's about a 2.39 miles, if not mistaken.
3.3, but yeah, 2.25.
So yeah, call it 2.25. There's a number of hairpin turns, and you look at the map, and you certainly go around the course outside of the Vintage Grand Prix, and you say, "Oh, okay, this is a turn. This is another turn. Not too bad." But when you actually do it, and you're in it, and there's 3 turns to it, they're real quick, and then there's a wall on either side of stone. And you're going through this almost like a sluice, and you're like, okay, now I see why people are squealing tires and slamming on the brakes as they're coming around those courses. And it was eye-opening.
I'm just impressed that the 109 made it around those hairpins without making 3-point turns.
And also when it's right-hand drive, it depends on which direction you're turning, how easy it is too, just in terms from the driver's perspective.
Well,
did you have the soft top up or off?
The top was all rolled up and the door tops were off and all that, but this is a guy who's never driven one before.
True. Yeah.
He did all right.
Yeah, he did.
I'm just putting along one-handing it in the 130. He was working for it in the 109.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely, he was getting a workout, especially no power steering. Hopefully he didn't have to slow down too much for those turns so that he had a little less work to do.
I don't think anybody was going particularly fast in the Rover sense. I just kept it at a constant, steady speed. And at one point, I actually lost the Aston Martins in front of us and had to ask people where to go because there was a kind of a split in the course. And there's people like, no, go to the right, go to the right. I'm like, all right, okay. Got onto the bridge towards the aviary and Phipps, and caught up again with the line of the Aston Martin and others.
However, at the other end of the Land Rovers, because of the way things accordion and they compress and uncompress, at the very back end, PAX in the 109 had to shovel coal most of the time.
I bet.
So we're looking here at a map of the race circuit, and I'll try to have a link to this in the show notes.
And your cursor is right over where we were.
Yes,
the car show.
Right where it says car show on this particular map is about where we had the display area, and then the walled area, I think, is right in here. Harold, is that right? Is this the right place?
That's where the retaining walls are, and the hairpins and all that.
And yep, and I think down here on this right hand side, which is near the end of the race course there on this hairpin turn, is where we had staged Oxford a number of years ago when it was here.
Nope, it was further up.
Was it was up here?
On. Yeah, it was right up there.
Okay,
that's what we did.
I thought it was that
right.
Lower bend.
That sequence of hairpins and other bends is called Serpentine Drive, and then the other one past where the car show is, that's called Circuit Drive, and that's where we were, the intersection of Circuit Road and Serpentine.
Fair enough. There you go. It was fun. We had a good time, and everybody that showed up had a good time. And they got a special edition can, this beer artwork that has a Defender on it, from Helltown Brewing, and it was the English ale. It's called Centresteer English Ale. That is available in limited quantities here in Pittsburgh at Helltown Brewing.
I thought all the limited quantities were limited to your basement at this point.
No, sir. There were some left at the brewery, and I do have some limited quantities here at the house. And my hope and plan is for some of the next 6 months, either if I can get to an event, or if someone can take some of the beer for me, we'll send them to different events throughout the country, and they can auction them off to help out the local clubs.
Sounds excellent. Very cool.
I got dragged around by a dog. I got rope burned.
Harold brought Valdi, his dog, and it was a reenactment of the Jubilee.
Without any mud.
Yes. Valdi.
Nothing for him to drink.
He was eating ice all weekend. That's his new thing.
Oh, that's good.
He won't drink out of a bowl anymore, period. He hydrates by eating ice, which is his favorite dog treat ever because it's crunchy and it's cold.
Yeah, we were feeding him ice all weekend. I guess that's good and bad. You don't have to pour any water into a dish.
Right, which Pax's daughter, whose name is Lux, was feeding ice, and Mark Garcia's daughter was feeding ice, and they were both having fun with that.
It was nice to meet up with Grace and Lux. They're the kids of Land Rover owners.
I believe this is Grace's first time out in public at a Land Rover event.
I think, yes. I don't recall ever meeting Grace before, so that was good. That's our friend Mark in Pittsburgh.
Former member of the podcast, season 1.
It was nice to see them, and they came out to the event. And we also roped in our good friend Dana Rukse, who's a professional photographer, to take pictures of us on the parade lap. And my hope is by the time this podcast is posted, we'll have a link to those photos so that you can all see them. And get that from Dana.
Did you see our friend Corey posted a YouTube video of us circumnavigating the parade lap?
Yes, I'll have a link to that also in the show notes. Thanks for reminding me about that. Yeah, there's a little bit of us coming through the reviewing stand area.
Complete with the Aston Martin blowing out his tailpipes.
Yes. And I came upon this great idea to take a video before we got started, and I took my iPhone and stuck it in the vent of the Defender against the windscreen, and it held it. It was a great place for it, stuck there very nicely. It was a perfect place to put it, and I didn't remember to push record until about 2/3 of the way through.
Classic. But how shaky was the video at this?
It's really good, actually.
Anyway.
No, it was really,
Wow.
the part I did was really good. Oh, I forgot my GoPro because it was just a busy weekend. And I was like, because we sat for about 45 minutes before they started and opened up the parade area. And because they had races going on, and I want to make sure those were clear and make sure the track was clear. I can get a video. I did some testing. I took a picture or two of the Aston Martin in front of me, and I took a little bit of video just to see how it would look and make sure I did it at 0.5. So it was like wide angle. So you had a good view of everything. Okay, great. Charged up the phone, make sure it was charged up. And he's like, okay, time to go. You see all the vehicles pulling out. I put it there and turned on the phone, and then I looked down, as I said, 2/3 of the way through, and I'm like, oh, fudge. I forgot to push. The numbers aren't climbing, and the counter wasn't going. I'll see if I can get what I did stuck up probably on one of the accounts just to show something, but it did. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. On the video, I'll have that of the Serpentine area and how close quarters were. And like, nope. I found out on the news last night after the event that you can buy a ride with a professional race course driver on that course if you wish. I don't know what the cost was, but they'll take you out at speed on that
I
race
think
course.
it was $50 a lap.
That might be worth it just to see what.
It's far cheaper than bringing your own race car.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you that. Way cheaper.
And it's also more of a modern car. You don't go out in a vintage car. It's a modern one.
And it's probably not at full speed either.
So that was the Vintage Grand Prix, and that was our special one-off 75th anniversary of Land Rover celebration. If you are interested in coming to the Grand Prix, now you've got 11 months to get your Rover ready.
Your Rover should be ready because it's been gotten all ready for Greek Peak and Anarch, and now for the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. It's all ready for the next round of events.
That's right.
Just keep it ready. And Dixon, I think you have a list of upcoming events that you're going to share.
On the Anarch website, there's an events list. It's also in the OVLR newsletter. For people listening, the Rovers Club has got an event on the weekend of August 19th, 20th called The Pond. It's in Loysville, Pennsylvania, on someone's property with all sorts of interesting terrain.
If I may interrupt you, because this happens a lot to those of us in Pennsylvania. When you say it's in Pennsylvania, everyone thinks it's a small state and things are close to one another. That is on the other side of Pennsylvania. It's 5 hours away from Pittsburgh.
North America is big. The Australians will understand this. The Canadians understand this. Europeans won't. Yes.
Still, there are fellow Americans and fellow Canadians that will go, hey, I have a relative or a friend that works near Philadelphia. You're like, yeah, I don't know who that is.
Actually, Loysville, if you say the other side of the state, it's actually at the side of the state where I usually was.
That's true. That's
visiting.
True.
So it's close. And let's see, then the same weekend, the August 2021st, there is Maine Misfits and Rover Bits, another event going on in John Vallerad's property in Green, Maine. There's 200 acres and such there that are going to be being used, so on, for an event and such. And he's got a ton of series Rover parts if you're looking for stuff.
And then in August 23rd, 24th, memory serves, that will be ROVICON over in Northern California. And we'll talk to Eric and Greg later in the podcast, all the details on that. That's coming up, as I said, towards the end of August.
I think it's the 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Yes, which actually corresponds with the Northeast Land Rover Club's event, the annual, which is in Cole Township, Pennsylvania, at the Anthracite Outdoor Adventure Area. Isn't that just like the entire state's just all coal?
Not anymore. They mined it all.
Yeah. They mined it all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And after that, we've got the weekend of September 16th is the Ottawa Valley Land Rover Club birthday party up in Calabogie, Ontario, about 60 miles west of Ottawa. And then farther afield is the Mid-Atlantic Rally that the Rover owners of Virginia will be putting on at Pearls Pond down in central Virginia. That's always a really interesting one to go to, though. It is limited attendance on that one. When they announce the event and say registration's open, get to a website fast or you may be disappointed.
That's right. You got to jump on it. Yep, that is correct. Make your plans now.
Also, in addition to all those events, Dixon, there's another event you may not be aware of because I don't think it got posted on the Anarch site. But one of our member clubs, the Minnesota Land Rovers, are having their annual, I think they call it their picnic, and it's the second weekend in August. And it's in northern Minnesota, Gilbert, Minnesota, I believe is the place. But you probably should reach out to the Minnesota Land Rovers Club and get some more info because I don't have much more than that.
I will get a hold of Dr. Rick and find out more about it.
Yeah, it's the annual picnic and camping, family camping. It looks like it's just looking at their website. It just says it's in August. We don't have an actual date, but.
It is the second weekend in August. It's almost always the second weekend in August. So this year, I believe it'll be the 11th and 12th.
Excellent.
I'm actually trying to go to that this year.
Oh, nice. You met up with them at the Jubilee, right?
I met with them at the Jubilee, quite a few of them, plus Dr. Rick and Dave Alton were at Centresteer Studios when we did the handover of Oxford.
And there's also one other event, and that is the same weekend as the birthday party is the British invasion in Stowe, Vermont, which is smack dab in the middle of the state. The Land Rover was the featured mark a few years ago or a couple of years ago, and it is the featured again because it's the 75th. So another one.
There's usually a really good turnout at that event as well, as I recall.
Yes,
Actually,
absolutely.
there's actually another event that weekend at Bronte Creek Provincial Park, just west of Toronto, British Car Day, which is run by the Toronto Triumph Club, which is, I think it's the largest single day British car rally in North America. There's over 1,000 British cars there. It's huge.
Wow.
Seems to be a thing. Triumph clubs holding British car days.
I was thinking the same thing, Harold.
Yeah.
The Triumph Club here in Pittsburgh, they're the ones that handle British Car Day. It's the Western Pennsylvania Triumph Club.
And they've been holding British Car Day at the Grand Prix since before the Grand Prix was at the Grand Prix.
They also have the Roadster Factory there, which gives Triumph in the Pittsburgh area. So
Yeah.
in Ottawa, British Car Day is run by the Jaguar Club.
So I think we should name that Get Your Rover Ready segment. So
Or
getting
keep your Rover ready.
keep
Don't
your
shut
Rover
it
ready.
off. So don't shut
keep
it
it
off.
ready.
You got more places to go.
We're going to try to alert you to upcoming events in the next several months during each podcast, just to keep you connected to what's going on, especially here in North America. If those around the world want to let us know about their events coming up, feel free to send us an email. We'll happy to add you to our listing of activities coming up to keep your Rover ready or get your Rover ready. I know we're bad at giving segment names. It's time now to move on to the news. JLR reports a 29% surge in sales of retail sales of 101,994 vehicles for the 3 months that ended in June 30th of 2023. Retail sales were broadly down 1% compared to prior quarter that ended in March. And compared to the prior year, retail volumes were higher in the overseas, up 83%. Up 42% in North America, up 40% in China, up 6% in the UK, and Europe was held stable at 0%. By model, retail sales of the 3 most profitable models were up significantly compared to the same quarter a year ago. Range Rover was up 199%. Range Rover Sport was up 42%, and Defender was up only 90%. JLR said the order book remained strong with over 185,000 current orders at quarter end, down from 200,000 at March 31st. In line with expectations as chip and other supply constraints continue to improve. Range Rover Sport and Defender demand remained particularly strong, representing 76% of the order book. So good news on the sales front.
Yeah, that means a major surge in production if they're able to reduce their backlog while also having this big surge in sales.
The new Range Rover coming out was certainly a good thing for sales, and they're certainly making plenty of Defenders. I'm sure
Tripling their number would agree with you, definitely.
Yes. And has officially announced that Adrian Mardell as the Chief Executive Officer of JLR. Since it's not Jaguar Land Rover anymore, it's JLR. Mardell has been with JLR for 33 years and became Chief Financial Officer in 2019. Transitioned to the interim CEO role last November when Terry Bollare resigned due to personal reasons. The automaker also made acting CFO and former McLaren Auto Finance Chief Richard Molyneux role permanent. Molyneux, who previously spent over 6 years as JLR Finance Director of Operations, was appointed acting CFO last December. Mardell is 62 years old. He's a British national, and he has been tasked with overseeing the electrification plans that were announced back in April, investing, wow, when it would invest 15 billion pounds. Yes, 15 billion, $19 billion over the next 5 years in electric vehicles, and promised to deliver new electric Jaguar in 2025. And it's important to note here that his appointment is for a 3-year term.
Which fits right in with the retirement age of 65.
That makes some
So
sense.
it redefines permanent though.
Yes.
So it's 3 years.
Appointing people to a permanent position for a term is not unheard of, but I think that in this case, the permanent designation versus the interim designation I think gives him more authority to make action without board approval.
So
It's
that'll
probably largely a corporate bylaw maneuver.
All right, next up, Jaguar Land Rover will build a $5 billion plant in the UK. It's a battery plant. Tata announced a $5 billion investment in a UK battery gigafactory. The plant is important for a number of reasons, namely signified a renewed interest in the United Kingdom as an automotive hub, but also making Tata's first gigafactory away from its home base in India. Around 4,000 new employees of JLR, which was acquired by Tata in 2008, will operate the plant as it works towards an annual output of 40 gigawatt hours. And the plant will be built in Somerset, nearby JLR's current assembly facilities in Birmingham, with an estimated production start date of 2026. So that's coming online. There was another article from Somerset Live that talks more about the location. So I thought I'll go through that. Tata Group has posted job openings for a UK battery cell developer and a UK-based construction project manager in recent days, according to Bloomberg. And this article, by the way, came out before the official announcement. It's probably important to mention that. The job advertisements listed on LinkedIn may appear to indicate the firm is moving forward with plans for the UK gigafactory. The reported state-of-the-art gigafactory in Somerset would be located at the Gravity Business Park, a 616-acre smart campus currently under construction near the M5 motorway at Puriton. Reports indicated a bidding war took place between the UK and Spanish governments for the deal to welcome the new factory. The Telegraph reports that the Spanish government offered Tata 350 million euro subsidy, which is reportedly the maximum amount it can offer. The BBC reports that while the UK government has said it does not recognize a previously reported figure of £500 million in UK state subsidies, it has conceded that the potential agreement is in the hundreds of millions of pounds. This comes in the form of cash grants, energy subsidies, and other training and research funding. And then they talk more about this gigafactory and it's located. The Gravity Business Park is the name of it. Gravity is part of the name. And it's a 616-acre smart campus located on a former Royal Ordnance Factory site in Puriton near Bridgewater. It will feature a direct link road to Junction 23 of the M5, as well as purpose-built on-site freight and passenger rail terminals and direct access to Bristol Seaport.
I wonder how much of this is worth to the taxpayer, because Canada is just in the process of chucking billions of dollars at Stellantis and at VW for battery plants in Ontario. And they were competing with, I think, Michigan or something for this. And here you have the UK competing with Spain for subsidies to build these plants. To be an automaker right now must be just fantastic, because you're getting the taxpayer to pay for all of your capital costs.
Same thing with chip production. Yeah, it is very interesting how high the bidding wars are for battery factories.
It's really nothing new,
and
though.
I'm actually
this kind of stuff's been going on for a long time.
And I'm impressed to see that they are actually putting in some direct rail service to this, because one of my first thoughts was, oh, wow, they're going to have all of those batteries being shipped down the M5. That doesn't seem ideal, but rail would be preferable for that.
Former weapons factory probably already had the rail.
I'm sure it did.
Yes.
So it is a good candidate.
And also, if they make enough and they have that seaport access, then they could also more easily export the batteries to the continent, or even in North America for that matter.
I think we'll have all of our plants up and running. I guess they can export them to Spain because they didn't get the plant.
Fair enough.
And just briefly, financially, it's got to be the better choice for them to have it in country due to Brexit and the increased costs to import.
I think in the early part of that article, it mentioned how they wanted to remain a hub of manufacturing automobiles. I think that's the key right there.
Well, makes sense.
The interesting thing to me is that they're looking at their goal is an annual output of 40 gigawatt hours. which was interesting.
Gigawatts.
I think it was
Yeah,
400
gigawatts did it take that DeLorean to go back in time?
I was going to say it would take them about a week and a half to produce 1.2 gigawatt hours at that rate.
That's impressive.
All right. So let's talk about the House of Brands. This is from Car Dealer magazine in the UK. And so JLR's planned move to a House of Brands has been met with mixed reaction from industry experts. In an investigation by Car Dealer magazine, some industry commentators welcomed the move, while others cautioned it could cause confusion. The British manufacturer aims to transform its dealer network to focus on 4 main brands: Range Rover, Defender, Discovery, and Jaguar. It has relegated the Land Rover name to become a trust mark on its cars rather than the overarching brand name, plans to move to fixed price agency car sales next year, and will drastically cut the number of dealerships it involves. JLR showrooms are set to be split into 4 distinct sections, selling the different brands, and many will lose their Jaguar completely. One of the commentators that they talked to, this is a professor, he said the shift to a House of Brands was a rebrand itself by JLR, raises many questions as it answers. Range Rover and Jaguar are clearly well-known brands, and the firm has claimed that Discovery and Defender are themselves massive, in quotes. That may be the case, but so is Land Rover, which really does have massive recognition around the world. Apparently, that won't disappear, but it risks confusion if a car is badged as, say, a Land Rover and a Discovery.
The same confusion as when it's badged as a Land Rover and a Range Rover.
Yeah, there's that confusion too.
Which has existed for 50 years.
And another analyst said the more independence they can give the models within the Land Rover brand, the more it can help communication and marketing reasons. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, however, it will be confusing as all the vehicles will still have the Land Rover logo. They talk about 4 different brands, but at the end of the day, we will continue to see 2 different logos. It is a bit confusing, to be honest. He goes on to also say that it raised concerns over the strength of the Discovery brand within the quartet being highlighted. They are giving more visibility to the 2 products that may work well, Range Rover and Defender. But at the same time, they are leaving the Discovery family, the weak side of Land Rover, more exposed. And he went on to add that the firm is actually missing a huge trick in not developing Land Rover as, for example, a pickup brand. This could be a highly profitable in certain markets like the US, yet bizarrely the firm still offers no pickup model at all, which of course we have to take note of, that the reason that they don't bring a pickup into the US is because there's a 25% markup on importing pickups.
The chicken.
That's why they would have to build the factory in the US, which actually make a lot more sense because it's not like they're going to sell a whole lot of pickups in the UK or in Europe, but in the US they would.
Yeah.
And they could do the same thing in Australia and sell a lot there.
If they were really going to become that 1 million number of manufacturing vehicles, then that building a US plant to focus on having some sort of luxury pickup would make sense, but they're not doing that anymore.
All of their competitors are building in the United States or North America under the Auto Pact, and they're building in other places in the world. They're one of the few manufacturers, though now they got the plant in Slovakia, but they're one of the few that is not diversified.
And this article goes on to say, however, other experts tell Car Dealer thought that the move would be a positive step. Another industry expert said, it's important we remember this House of Brands concept is just one component of a huge strategic shift for JLR. The group's product has evolved and will continue to do so, and this sets the scene for Jaguar's long-awaited rebirth and the continuing evolution of the products formerly known as Land Rover into luxury brands in their own right. What's for certain is that standing still is not an option in today's automotive market, and JLR understands this perhaps better than anyone. And another one went on to say, it's a bold move to jettison the renowned Land Rover brand name from the new JLR strategy. And it's true that swapping heritage for modernity will either turn out to be a risk too far or massively visionary. But I believe what will often appears radical in the first instance appears less so over time. For me, it's akin to Apple. It's a loved brand, but their core products, iPhone, iMac, iPad, etc., are brands themselves, and the company has discrete marketing and promotion for the product brands rather than Apple as a whole. A reimagining allows for innovation and brand stretch, whereas a long-standing brand struggles to truly innovate without alienating its core consumers. One thing is clear: in the future, a younger, more savvy consumer is required for every car manufacturer to be successful, and perhaps ditching a legacy brand position is the way to attract a new audience. There's some food for
I
thought.
would disagree on that Apple analogy because, yes, iMac or Mac, iPhone, iPad, etc., are their own brands, if you want to call it, but you're talking about an Apple ecosystem where they all work together.
And they all have the Apple logo on the product still.
Yes. And the Apple logo is very large, very prominent, where the actual product name is generally pretty small.
Yeah.
And that is really the reverse on Land Rover vehicles, that the model name is generally fairly large on the bonnet,
on the back.
Yeah. And there's a little green oval slapped on there somewhere.
I do think the Apple analogy, though, applies in the sense of it being a luxury brand more so than anything else, like for individual products. Yes, there is an ecosystem, but it tends to be a little more upscale. And I think that's the part that when I was reading about their strategy change, that's the part I thought more closely matched Apple.
It's certainly a wishful comparison because Apple has managed their brand quite well.
I would also caution you on using that because one of Apple's marketing terminologies or terms is it always works. Not to be harsh about Land Rover, but they are not at the top of the JD Power's quality, reliability issues list. Right?
I didn't say it had anything to do with quality and reliability. I was just talking about the appearance of being a luxury upscale brand, and Land Rover JLR deciding that's where they want to move to. I think it's aspirational for them.
Someone has to just be careful about using Apple as a comparison.
Moving on, Land Rover is missing in action as JLR gives a glimpse of House of Brands at Goodwood. So JLR has given a glimpse of what its dealerships of the future could look like at the Goodwood. And there's no sign of Land Rover, the manufacturer, showcasing its House of Brands concept at the Festival of Speed in a huge stand that looks like one of its dual arch dealerships. Emblazoned across the top of the structure are the logos for the 4 brands JLR is now pushing, with Range Rover, Discovery, Defender, and Jaguar. Our reporters, and this is Car Dealer Magazine again, at the event said the only Land Rover signage in the entire display was the small logos on the cars. Even the spec sheets of the cars on the walls had no Land Rover logos. Inside, the huge site has been split into 4 zones. Front and center is the Range Rover with 2 cars on display, including the new Sport. The other brands all have their own areas. And then there's pictures of each of those. Range Rover had its own stall, if you will, or pod. Defender had it, so did Discovery. And then Jaguar was relegated to the back of the wood stand. This article ends with a spokesman for JLR told Car Dealer that the Goodwood structure was not a retail concept. Car Dealer was shown a concept of the dual arch showroom set up at a recent briefing with a car maker, which shows how the brand will be split into zones like those seen at Goodwood.
I would encourage everyone listening to this podcast to go to the show notes, link on this article, and take a look at the photos of what Land Rover had at Goodwood. You just have to see it.
They're moving away from being what they were. They're making that split, and they're making it clear.
And the article talks about the structure having the logos of the 4 families across the top, but there ain't no logos. It's text only.
Yes.
And rather small text. It's small font across the top of the building. Like maybe bring your binoculars if you're going there.
The pictures of the quadrants it's just amazing.
Yep.
Go look at it. I'll leave it at that.
They're making the clear distinction of what was and what is it to become. Yeah. And then in addition to doing virtually nothing for the 75th. Anyway.
Yeah, the display was very McGovern minimalist.
I think the word you're looking for is reductive. All right, let's move on to JLR boss. High Range Rover theft rate has become a problem. The theft of high-end JLR models, including the Range Rover Sport, is a concern for the company. The CEO has admitted, but he claims that the firm has solved the issue with the latest models. Quote, theft of our vehicles in large cities has become a problem, singling out London and Manchester as the 2 worst theft locations. Earlier this year, Autocar investigation found that Range Rover owners were being denied insurance because the risk of theft had become so great. The company is working with owners of the previous generation flagship Range Rover models in 2 ways to reduce the thefts. Mardell said the first one was to ensure login details of the In Control app, which allows remote access to the vehicle, were being correctly transferred to new owners. The second was updating the car's body control module, which oversees security. Meanwhile, instances of theft of the new Range Rover and Range Rover Sport on the MLA architecture were, quote, very close to zero, unquote, despite the cars being on sale for a year, Mardell said. Now, that's just a UK thing. I'm not sure what's going on in the US, but at least they're doing something.
That's going to be a problem anytime you have a luxury vehicle. I'm also wondering the statement about the vehicles having been on sale for a year and having very low theft rates. I wonder how much of that is that they've been behind on production and how much it is that the newest models are more likely to be in someone's very nice car park or garage, or maybe in their private company lot, as opposed to more likely to be out on the street.
Or just that attackers haven't figured out how to defeat it yet.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. That it takes a little
Yeah,
while to learn to hack the new technology.
It does. But I think also that the numbers of Range Rover vehicles accessible in London is going to be the percentage of the new year model, even if it's been out for a whole year, is going to be so small compared to
and a significant portion of the and a significant portion of the previous generation are probably used cars now, and those are people who are just going to park it on the street anywhere. So there's much more opportunity to nab one of those.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, next up, the 2024 Land Rover Defender Carpathian Edition cost over twice as much as the base trim. So this is from Motor Biscuit. It's a comparison between the entry-level Defender and the top-of-the-line Carpathian Edition, and then which one should you actually buy? Though the 2024 Defender base model isn't cheap, it's much more affordable than the higher trims. The top-tier 2024 Land Rover Defender Carpathian Edition costs twice as much as the base model. The S, before we get to the S, the 2024 Defender offers 15 trim levels. It also comes in 3 body styles, as we know, the 90, the 110, and 130. The 90 seats 6, the 110 can fit up to 7, and the 130 can accommodate up to 8. The Defender base model is the S, including the D90S, of course, the 110 and the 130S. As the smallest two-door, the Defender S is the entry-level model. It starts at $56,400. The base model has a 2-liter P300 inline 4 gasoline engine, all-wheel drive, 296 horsepower, and can accelerate from 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. Exterior perks include automatic headlight leveling, high beam assist, and keyless entry, panoramic rear side glass, heated electric power fold door mirrors with approach lights and auto-dimming driver's side. Notable interior amenities are heated leather steering wheel, 2-zone climate control, 12-way heated semi-powered front seats, and a cargo cover. The base model also abounds with advanced driver assist systems, including emergency braking, blind spot assist, 3D surround camera system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, rear traffic monitoring, 360-degree parking aid, traffic sign recognition, and adaptive speed limiter, and wade sensing.
That list does not sound base model to me.
That's in the base model. And then the Carpathian, compared to the standard 2024 90, the top tier 110 Carpathian edition is opulent. It starts at $118,600, more than double the price of the D90S. The Carpathian has 4 doors, longer wheelbase than a 90, seats 5, and doesn't offer the optional jump seat. The 110 Carpathian Edition packs a beastly 5-liter P525 V8 harnessing 518 horsepower, which is considerably more than the 296 of the base. It also has many performance upgrades. They include electronic air suspension with adaptive dynamics, electronic active differential, terrain modes, and advanced tow assist. The exterior boasts the Carpathian Gray premium metallic paint with satin protective film, shadow Atlas exterior accents, LED headlights with signature DRL, front fog lights, darkened tail lights, other exterior... Why would you darken your tail lights? Other exterior features are keyless entry, sliding panoramic roof, quad outboard mounted exhaust pipes, an electrically deployable tow bar, and black contrast roof, hood, and tail door. Upgraded interior features include premium cabin lighting, auto dimming interior rearview mirror, 3-zone climate control with rear cooling assist, air quality sensor, cabin air purification system. The Carpathian edition also has illuminated metal tread plates with a V8 branding, satin chrome gear shift paddles, and heated suede cloth steering wheel. The robust deck seats are swaddled in Windsor leather. The front seats have 14-way power adjustability with heating and cooling. The split folding rear seats are heated and have a center armrest. The Carpathian edition. Many infotainment upgrades include 11.4-inch touchscreen, head-up display, wireless device charger, 700-watt Meridian sound system with 14 speakers and a subwoofer. Finally, in addition to all the base model, advanced driving assist features, the top trim touts a driver condition monitor. It can sense when the driver begins feeling drowsy and issues an alert message and suggests taking a break. Finally, Car and Driver reviewers think that the trim that provides the most value at the lowest price is the 110 SE. Land Rover starts the 110 SE at $93,000. Its 493 horsepower 5-liter gas engine can push the SUV from 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. In addition, it can seat 6. A little comparison there from top to bottom of the 2024 Defender lineup.
Now, see, I fully expected in the previous article that Land Rover was going to suggest that owners of prior year models that are at high risk of theft should upgrade to like the Carpathian edition of the new year.
So why would you darken the lighting? I don't understand that one, but
Yeah, it's a styling thing. When the lights are off during the day, it's a neat look. But yeah, it really cuts down on the output of the light at night.
all right, let's move on to the 2025 Defender SVX spy shots and video. The Defender is expected to have at least 2 V8 upgrades in 2025. The regular V8 already on sale, plus a more capable version, possibly wearing an SVX badge and targeting the likes of the Ford Bronco Raptor and the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, but with a luxury twist. Prototypes for the potential Defender SVX have been spotted, revealing a number of key details. The prototype features a titanium exhaust with quad tips, along with widened wheel arches, raised suspension, mud flaps, BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. The tires are wrapped around 20-inch wheels. It isn't clear what engine is under the hood, while the Defender V8 features JLR's 518 horsepower supercharged 5-liter V8. It's possible the SVX is fitted with a version of BMW's twin turbocharged 4.4-liter V8 that's already made its way into the latest Range Rover and the Range Rover Sport. The BMW V8 is rated up to 626 horsepower in the rangy Sport SV, though lower output will likely be used for the hardcore Defender. That's their word, hardcore. We expect the Defender SVX to be revealed late this year or early next, likely as a 2025 model. JLR has already announced the 2024 Defender lineup, which we just talked about. And then there's a video, which if you want to see the video, it's pretty cool. Go out to the show notes and you can see the video. What we believe to be the SVX V8 powered going around the test track. And in the first bit, we have the inside driving wheel coming off the pavement for, what is that, a couple hundred feet at least?
Yeah, it's interesting because the caption on the video before you played it was how it was the extreme off-road focused prototype. And here it is on a paved track, lifting the inside front wheel in a corner, which is something you don't want when you're off-road, definitely. But
No.
it seems as though they might have a tad too much compliance in the rear suspension. They might want to add some roll stiffness. If I'm going to be racing a road course circuit, I don't think I'd want to be doing it in Defender. It'd be fun, but I could think of a lot better vehicles to do that with.
Yeah, if you're going to spend the money, nice to have a V8.
If I'm spending $90,000 on a vehicle to do this road course, I think I could pick a better one to do it with.
It'll be interesting to see which V8 ultimately it gets. It probably will be the BMW, just judging by what the other models are getting. I'm interested to see what sort of off-road accessories or modifications this model gets, because the previous time they intended to release an SVX, it was the Discovery, right?
Yeah, they canceled. They
and it had
canceled
a
the
whole-
Discovery.
Yeah, they canceled it, but it had a whole bunch of specialized off-road accessories. So that's what I'll be interested in seeing. That was the one that came with the rear winch.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. I think so. Yeah, considering the chip shortage, I wonder if you'll be lucky to get what they give you.
This video does, however, disprove Richard Hammond's statement that they don't go fast.
While we're
true.
talking, the video's playing in the background, and I can hear the sound. I wonder if that'll translate enough into our listeners being able to hear it. But it's a nice little background of speed.
Tires squealing and everything else. I also think that there's a possibility of proving James May right, that whenever they tune something on the Nürburgring, it ruins the vehicle.
All right, let's end up on going back in time to Land Rover 50th. I found this video after we went to the Diamond Jubilee, but this was a Land Rover North America produced video. It's a full 56 minutes called Land Rover 50-Year Adventure. And it was produced by Land Rover North America, and it talks about the history, and it talks about current models and the tech and where they're going. And of course, nice little shout out to the Freelander, because again, this was the Land Rover 50th.
Fast forward through that part of it if they wanted.
No, you would not do that. It's all part of the history. It's all part of it. Go check it out. It's an hour. It's well worth the watching if you're a Land Rover enthusiast. It looks to me like it was produced in the UK and they slapped a North America production on it.
Maybe they produce it in the UK and just took the money out of North America's marketing budget.
And maybe it had a little bit of a North America bent to it, if I remember correctly. They talk about the new Range Rover coming out and the Freelander and the Discovery, of course. So it was worth it. It's worth it. And go check it out.
Okay.
They talk about the Campbell Trophy and the Wilkes family being in Anglesey. Go check that out if you want to go learn more about Land Rover history. Considering Land Rover didn't do much for the 75th.
I like the tracked tractor.
Yeah, and that looks like an actual Jeep there on their property.
Looks like a universal carrier.
So go check out the Land Rover 50-Year Adventure if you want to learn about the history of Land Rover and where it came from, considering just pretend like it's Land Rover 75.
If you watch the 50-year video at 1.5x, do you get 75 years?
I guess you could. That's the one nice thing about watching these things on YouTube. You can watch at faster speeds, but I actually watch this at regular speed. There's Roger Craythorne.
Mr. Land Rover.
Yes. They talk about the development and how things came about. They talk to a couple of the Wilkes family members, and there's an actual Jeep on, I think, Anglesey, talking about Rover cars. So yeah, go check that out. We'll have a link, of course, to it in the show notes. Whoa, there you go, jumping.
That's the Jeep. Yeah. That was the Land Rover R&D program.
Yes, that's right. Yes, thank you, Jeep, for doing an R&D program. That's exactly right. All right, that's the news for July 2023. And now joining us on the podcast is Caroline Pratt. Caroline is on the lookout for a Defender 90 that she needs for her wedding day, which is coming up on September 23rd, 2023.
And it's not just any 90, it's a very particular 90 she's looking for.
Yes, welcome to the program, Caroline.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Harold. I'm excited to be here and joining you guys this evening.
What exactly are you looking for, first of all, so that people can be on the lookout for this?
Why this particular Rover?
Yeah, it's actually a crazy story. So like I said, I'm getting
crazier the better. We like that.
I love a crazy story.
You are in the Land Rover community. All stories are crazy.
Yes. But if I've learned anything about the Land Rover community is that it's very strong, very encouraging, and very friendly. I am grateful to have been a part of it. So I was born in Nashville, Tennessee back in 1989. And when I was 6 years old, my dad bought a Beluga Black Defender 90. And my absolute fondest memories with him are in that car. We had to live back against the woods. He would drive us around. We would play paintball. We would hit targets. We once accidentally hit the Defender, dented it, got in a ton of trouble.
As you should have, young lady.
As we should have, yes. But when you give a 9-year-old a paintball gun, things sort of go off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, but
luckily it was only the Defender that got damaged.
Yeah.
True. So it's a water soluble, isn't it, too?
Yeah, it is. So luckily it was repaired. But yeah, just great memories in that car. My entire childhood, we would stand in the back against the roll cage and pull leaves off of trees. Got a ticket from doing that, worth the price of admission. And then tragically and unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2004. So it was just me, my mom, and my sister left. None of us know anything about cars. None of us can drive a manual. So we were useless being the owners of this wonderful Defender.
Sounds like an opportunity to learn.
It did. I didn't have a driver's license. I was 2 years away from being able to drive just any car. So
That shouldn't stop you.
yeah, I can't say I wouldn't have tried if I'd had a little bit more time. Unfortunately, things went the way they did. And so we ended up selling my dad's car in 2009. Loved it, but just wanted it to go to a home where someone would take better care of it, make the same wonderful memories that we were able to make in those decade that we had it.
And was this in Georgia? You sold it?
It was in
It was in
Nashville, Tennessee, where I grew up. Yeah, so I live in Atlanta now, but from Nashville, wreaked havoc there in the Beast, as we
Do
lovingly
you
called it.
know who it went to?
I don't know who it went to. I know the plate number. And so this has been a wild goose chase because like I said, I'm getting married in September. And when I was thinking about getaway cars, I was looking at the typical like Bentley, all these fancy cars, which are beautiful and wonderful, but they didn't really mean anything to me. And so I had this sort of crazy idea that I might try and track down a Defender in Nashville. So after months of scouring the internet, trying to find someone who might be willing to rent their car for me for the day, I was out of options, found the Land Rover Defender Owners USA Facebook group, put a desperate post there. And I have never felt such an outpouring of just encouragement and support from a community than that day. There are so many wonderful people on that post that from Texas or Virginia or DC or California were saying, I would love to do this for you. I'm just a little bit too far away. And so through that, I learned a little bit more about the Defender community, learned there was a registry and some great people like Brian O'Shea and Loic Fabro and some other like friends I don't know, but I genuinely consider friends from just the support that they provided me in this process.
Welcome to the Land Rover community.
Yeah.
We actually do have a saying that Land Rover owner is just a friend you have not met yet.
It's absolutely a friend. These people are wonderful. I had people giving me their phone numbers and saying, call me. I've got a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend who might be able to do this. I've got a friend who has a yellow one. Look, Fabro sent me a message and was like, I will drive 700 miles from Virginia for your wedding day to make this happen for you. Someone I've never met. And so I never thought it was possible I never even considered the fact that I might be able to find my dad's old car. I just was hoping for just a Defender, regardless of color, style, anything. But the community really stepped up and said, if you can find the plate number, then we can help you hopefully track down the owner. And so my sister and I called the insurance company. We were able to figure out the VIN. From that, we discovered that it's plate number 2552. And that's as far as we've gotten so far, obviously, because we don't want to be creeping on people's personal information too much.
That's the advantage of the North American Defenders. They had that unique little number.
Yeah, it's amazing. And from one person told me that there were only 122 made of his same model and style and color, which is remarkable, just even considering how few there are, that it might be possible just to find one for
Well, and on the plus side, it's probably been preserved because it is of that collectible status.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was 7, 8 years old at the time we were driving it around causing trouble in Nashville, but you have no idea how rare these things are until you try and find one for your wedding and realize, oh, shoot, this is a special car. And it was always special to me for personal reasons. But from this search, I've had people sending me pictures of their kids and their daughters on the beach with surfboards and the mountains all over the world doing the same things that we did. So it's been really remarkable to see that our experience obviously was very special to us, but there is such a strong community making those same kind of crazy memories with their kids as we were able to have growing up.
It's an affirmation of how good your dad's taste was.
He did have good taste.
That's right.
Everything except for music, which he would blare through his big loudspeakers. And sure the cops called on us for that as well, but whatever.
As you've probably learned, that is what we call in the Land Rover community an NAS Defender. It's a North American specification Defender. And they're only available here in the U.S. for 2 or 3 years and very limited number available. So that's actually in your favor as because of the limited number. And you have a VIN. So we'll not reveal the VIN in case someone actually comes up with it. We can may just check on that. But how can folks get in touch with you if they have a lead or might know where it might be, or if they look at their own NAS Defender and they see 2552, how they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, if you look at your Defender and see that you have plate number 2552, you are the luckiest person in the world. That is the best car. Again, I'm sorry about the dent. I wish I hadn't said that, but
That's character.
unfortunately
That's
I
character.
did. I hope
Well-
you haven't found it yet, and please don't go searching for it if it is yours.
It's probably the least of its problems at this point.
Yeah. To be fair, the shape that we left it in was regrettable. So I do apologize to the second owner if they're on here, because three of us not knowing anything about cars and being 14 and 16, we're not great caretakers of it.
And to be fair, it was just a used car back then. It hadn't gotten to the point where it's has value.
Absolutely legendary status that they have now. You're talking earlier about how I'm lucky that it's such a special car. I am, but I'm like, man, I wish you drove like a Toyota Corolla and I could just rent one from budget and move on.
Right.
But,
But that wouldn't be anywhere near as cool.
It wouldn't be anywhere near as cool. And I have to say, I would absolutely ruin my wedding dress to hop into the back of any type of Defender on my wedding day and not drive off, because I don't know how to drive it, but hire a professional driver who knows.
You can be taught.
It's actually the easiest vehicle to learn to drive a stick in.
Oh yeah, you can be taught.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
There's
see now.
Challenge.
We got a challenge for you, because really, I have two Land Rovers, and the Series 3 I have, just as an example for you, is it's very similar. I loaded up a trailer, put it into gear, and it's a stick also, and I let up off the clutch. It goes into gear, and it pulls the vehicle and the trailer up my 45-degree driveway in the road. I didn't even touch the accelerator.
Really?
Yes, they are they're geared so low that they're very easy to learn to drive that, and it's difficult to stall them.
Okay.
Especially with a diesel.
Yes, that's true. Good point. Yeah,
the diesel helps in that regard, but nonetheless, they are very easy to learn to drive on.
Yeah, if you want to increase your difficulty factor, I'll lend you my 2013 Volkswagen Jetta. That's a 6-speed TDI. That is very difficult.
Yeah, I'll take
that is the easiest car to stall.
Yes.
Sign me up for learning on the Defender then, because that sounds more manageable.
There we go. All right.
And there's also a guy in Atlanta who said, I've got a different kind of Defender, but if you ever want to borrow it for the day, reach out to him. So maybe I will, but I hope he's not listening to this.
You're going to find out if it's a newer one or a heritage older model.
Yeah.
Because the newer ones are all automatic.
My sister and I always had this phantom dream that we would maybe find my dad's Defender and buy it back someday, or just get something similar. And this entire process has absolutely reinvigorated our desire and future understanding that we will be back in the NAS Defender owners community one day.
You could always build a tribute truck.
Oh.
I couldn't build that out of Legos, but
you can build it out of a Defender. You can get a 90 and paint it black and do all that stuff if you want.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have the real thing, but if you can't find the person and they're willing to part with it, then you could always build one that's similar.
Yeah, I absolutely could. And this whole search has just been a process to find any Defender that someone might be willing to rent for us for the day, so we can just have a piece of my dad at our wedding.
Oh, that can be arranged easily.
Yeah, finding his specifically is something that never even crossed my mind until I, had a relationship with this community, and all these wonderful people said it might be possible. So that finding my dad's is just like a secondary piece of this to say, hey, this is your car's history. We loved it. We're grateful it's to a new home. And
other leads on where the vehicle was sold to, or any other information?
It was sold, I think, to someone at the time. And again, this was 2009. I believe it was sold to someone in Franklin, Tennessee, but I don't know any information farther than that. Just the plate number. It got sold out of Land Rover Nashville in 2009.
Okay. And your dad's name is also Pratt?
Yeah, my dad's name is Dr. Stephen Michael Pratt.
Oh, that could be helpful too, because someone might remember they bought it from Michael Pratt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Sad to lose him, but hopefully this process has made me feel like he won't be able to walk me down the aisle, of course. But if his old truck or something like it can drive my new husband and I off at the end of the night, it would be obviously the second most special part of my day, apart from
actual wedding part. Yeah. The ceremony.
Is it an outdoor wedding venue?
It is an outdoor wedding venue. It's at Cheap Estate and Gardens.
Ooh, awesome. We need to know so we can crash. But
yeah, you guys are invited.
I don't know if you want a lot of diesel trucks floating around.
But
I would take an absolute brigade of Defenders.
Oh, we can arrange that. But
Just
I was going
parade.
to tell you, if it's an outdoor venue, I used to work in the wedding industry, used to drive Rolls Royce and Bentleys, and I once drove a bride down the aisle.
No way.
I didn't know that. That's a new story,
yeah.
Harold.
Oh, yeah. They hustled me. They had me hold in a certain area with the girl in the car and all that stuff. And then they whistled and waved and brought me up. I thought I was going up to some place to drop her off. Next thing I know, there's the stage right there.
Nice.
Just saying, that's been precedented.
How long's your wedding train?
Yeah, pretty long.
Okay. You might need a 110.
It'll be flowing out of the back of
to
this.
put all that in the back.
That sounds like fun.
That does, actually. I do know a 1987 Defender 110 you potentially could use. Oh, yeah, that's mine. It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does seem like you know pretty well, I'm sure.
You could always bring the 130, and that's plenty of room for the train to be piled up.
Oh, the 130. If you're not familiar, Caroline, the 90, the 110, 130, those are wheelbase designations, and that's how they got the model name.
Yeah, the bigger the number, the longer the truck.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yes. Yeah. So 90 is a 3-door, and then with a rear door, and then the 110 is your 5-door, which they basically extended the wheelbase between the axles, and then the 130 even bigger.
That's great to know. I never knew. I never thought of it as a 3-door. Obviously, that makes sense with the 2 front doors and the rear, because we would pile like as many of my 12, 13, 14-year-old friends in the back of that car as possible. And we would just climb in from the top, swing in from the sides, like absolutely all over this car. Like
soft top?
Yeah, soft top.
Yeah, it's a party on wheels. Just climb in and pile on.
That is a consideration, though. If it's just going to be the two of you in the vehicle, and one of you is going to need to know how to drive it, otherwise you're probably going to want you're not going to want to have to like pow into the back have a driver pull the seat forward. And
I would climb right in the top of that thing in my wedding dress. And
okay, then
she'd be standing up in back, holding onto the roll bar.
She could just be like the queen does. Yes,
I would be ripping leaves off of the trees at Cheekwood and would probably get fined. And again, it would be worth every single second of that, because genuinely, those are some of my fondest memories that I had with my late father, was just getting into all the trouble that we possibly could and reaping benefits. You
only get fined if you get caught.
It's true.
That's right.
It's true.
Take no pictures, take no video.
Yeah, there will be no cameras or anything of me at my wedding. So we're all good. No one will know.
Did your dad own other Land Rovers, or was that the only one?
My mom had a Range Rover, and my sister had a Land Rover. I don't remember the style of it, but we were a big Land Rover family back in the day.
Cool. That's cool. Oh, good. Yeah. I was just curious was that his first model? Do you know the first Land Rover?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It was. And it was very special, and they were wonderful cars, and it truly is amazing. I don't know if other sort of car models have the same type of following that Defenders do, or just wonderful communities. I'm sure they do. I hope they do.
Yeah, there are some.
But it has been truly unbelievable I posted this thing on Facebook thinking nobody would respond, and that this is a crazy app.
Foolish you.
It was just like ding, ding, like absolutely overwhelming amount of support of people saying, I'll lend you mine, but I'm 500 miles away. Like, how can we help? Look at this website post on Defender Source.
Right.
So this group gave me tons and tons of leads to look at other places, and just offering. These people don't know me. They have no dedication or need to help. People just want to. And it's been really remarkable.
Hey, it's a Rover party.
Yeah, it is.
I'm only 500 miles away. I'd consider it.
Yeah. Come on down. You're invited to the wedding.
There we go. Maybe we should road trip it, Harold.
Come on.
We could do a special podcast episode.
Oh, yes. Live from the wedding.
Yeah, Land Rover on the road. Let's go. Yeah, it was a week before, I think, like the 75th Land Rover anniversary celebration. And I had a couple of people who reached out to me asking for the plate number, and they went around hunting for it just to see if it might be there, which was so thoughtful.
Too bad that wasn't a question on the registration form, or you had the database right there to look at. You're really just looking to get this truck for a day for the wedding, or are you trying to buy it?
No, we're looking to rent the truck for a day as the getaway car for my wedding.
Okay.
And it doesn't even, again, I started this search just in the hopes of finding ideally a black Defender of some kind to use on that day, or a 95 soft top in a different color, just something that would make my father feel a little bit closer on my wedding day. And then it spiraled into a search for his actual car. So that The search for my dad's car is just a vanity project in the grand scheme of things. What I am looking for is someone who might be in the Nashville area who would be willing to rent their Defender for a day, and we would hire a driver and do all that, whatever would make them feel comfortable if they were willing. But
so the
also
wedding's in Nashville.
The wedding is in Nashville. Yes,
I thought I thought it was in. I'm sorry, I thought it was in Georgia for some reason.
So I live in Atlanta now, but I'm from Nashville, getting married back there, and in search of a ideally black Defender to use as my getaway car. But honestly, just a Defender, so I can feel a little bit closer to my
connection. Sure.
Right.
Might you have a photo of your dad's truck in any regard? Yeah.
I have several, and I'd happily send them over.
I think, yes, if you do, I think we'll put a post up on our Instagram also. And then I think that might help draw some attention and see if we can't help you to find that vehicle.
And furthermore, part 2 of my question, I know you're just looking for a getaway, but should this truck be found and the owner is willing to sell, are you interested?
Definitely.
Okay.
There we go.
But but it's a wonderful car. If I had it again, I would never give it up. So I would not want to put any.
By the way, that's every Land Rover owner, by the way. That's usually what happens.
You don't make the same mistake twice. There's plenty of other mistakes you can make, so you don't have to make the same one.
Yeah, so we can just avoid that one. Yeah, hopefully if we find the owner of the car and in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 next year, they decided that they wanted to do something different and we're planning to sell it, my family would love to have that little memory back in our family. But if it were me, I wouldn't give it up again. So I wouldn't blame anyone else for also not wanting to.
Well, things happen. So basically you want first dibs.
Yeah, first dibs, right of first refusal.
Caroline, good luck on finding your dad's NAS 1995 Defender 90. We will push this out. Well, hopefully our community of podcast listeners might have a lead for you here. We're mainly North America, but there are people, of course, listening around the world, and you never know. Hopefully, I don't think the vehicle left the continent, but it's a possibility. It is left-hand drive, and all other Land Rovers are usually right-hand drive. Ish. Anyway, so how can I think we forgot to do this part. How can folks get in contact with you if they do have a lead or they have the truck?
Yes, if you have a lead, if you are willing to rent or loan your Defender for the day on September 23rd in Nashville, Tennessee, or have plate 2552, my email address is carolinempratt@gmail.com. That's CAROLINE, M as in Mary, PRAT@gmail.com. I'm also Caroline Pratt on Facebook, living in Atlanta, Georgia, but from Nashville, Tennessee. If you have any leads that would help in this search in any capacity, please feel free to reach out. I'm grateful for this community for accepting me back into it after all of these years and being so helpful and encouraging.
You never left.
Yeah, in what started as just an absolute pipe dream, and then within an hour of posting in this Facebook group, felt like it was something that might actually happen. So I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who has helped me on this journey, to you, John, to you, Harold, for inviting me tonight to talk through everything, and fingers crossed.
Good luck and congratulations on the upcoming wedding, and we're glad to have you on the podcast. And if for some reason folks have difficulty getting in touch with you, certainly we'll forward on anything that anybody sends us here at the podcast over to you. If anybody has any leads, please get in touch with us. Thanks again, Caroline.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Harold, and thank you, Defender listeners.
Joining us from Northern California, the Northern California Land Rover Club, is Eric and Greg. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Hi, guys. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having us. Yeah, glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
So we're talking ROVICON 5. This is the 5th ROVICON. You guys started this more than 5 years ago, I believe. You took a little break for COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
We did not.
You did not?
No, so we'll now keep the torch going for the longest running event on the ROVICON. But no. We pushed through COVID, but the third year we got messed up in regards to some fires. We still had the event, but we couldn't do it on the ROVICON. So it's a little funky.
That's fine. This is upcoming on August 25th through the 27th is the 5th edition, the Series 5, if you will, of ROVICON, and that takes place in Northern California. So tell us more about the event for those who may want to participate, and what's it about?
It's the only specific Land Rover event on the ROVICON trail. Rubicon Trail is pretty famous for hosting other brand specific events. Jeepers Jamboree, Jeep Jamboree being the famous one, the Jeep Rubicon. There's other events for Toyotas and Toyota Land Cruisers and even Suzuki's and a host of other random brands. So the club has been running the Rubicon for probably 15 years now, but nothing organized where we said, hey, let's get a whole group of people together. It was like, hey, Eric, what are you doing this weekend? No, I'm not doing anything. Then we just go up and run the trail. But now we've put the date down. We've made it a thing. We encourage other folks from across the country to come and actually run the trail with other Land Rovers and Land Rover owners. So they get an opportunity to run the trail with people that are kind of like-minded, know their vehicles, will help you get through it and get out of it. We make sure we give you the proper trail requirements and vehicle requirements beforehand so that you're not showing up with a brand new Discovery 5 Sport thinking you're going to run through it with us.
On street tires.
Yeah.
On street tires.
Have you gotten a brand new Discovery on the ROVICON?
No, we haven't. We did have a brand new Defender last year. That was quite something else.
How'd it do?
It's Kong from the Land Rover Denver group, and it was built up on 37s with a subframe drop and a 4-inch lift kits and
All right.
lockers.
So not a problem.
Not a problem with the V8s. And yeah, if you spend $150K on a brand new vehicle, it'll make it through.
It was highly modified.
That's what I mean.
So,
it was highly modified.
But you could pay I think he has one of those Carpathian 10s or whatever. So off the lot, he's probably, what are those, like 120, 130? And off the lot at that price, that's not getting me anywhere. I don't even want to know how much all the modifications would be, but it's at a point where it's capable of nearly any trail. It's a pretty impressive vehicle.
It's really
kind of sounds like he gutted a new Defender and then just built a whole new truck underneath it.
But they are selling them that way, which I think is pretty cool. So if you are in the market interested in a new Land Rover Defender, that all the kind of new bells and whistles, bought something that's like really trail capable, it's definitely the way to go. And that one with the V8 still tows a boat, pulls like almost 10,000 pounds or something like that. It's pretty impressive. I rode through the trail with them a little bit, air-conditioned seats, refrigerator in the center console. Not a bad way to go through the Sierras in August.
Well, taking the sport out of it.
The nice thing about it, though, is I think by having that vehicle do it, the new Defender got so much crap when it first came out. From myself even. Most enthusiasts thought it was a joke and it really departed from what it was, but having him build it up like that and be able to do these hard trails that none of the independent Land Rovers have really been able to do the way people build them, really legitimized, I think, the new Defender as a platform that can be a real off-road vehicle, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, what typical Land Rovers do you get for ROVICON, and what should folks expect if attending ROVICON?
We get a variety of assortment from series trucks all the way through Discovery 2s. I'd say the most common is typically Defenders and Discovery 2s, just by numbers. Range Rover Classics are great. Discovery 1s are great. This type of off-roading really lends itself better for solid axle vehicles, and unless you're going to go that extra mile to make sure that the suspension's beefed up and ready for it. But traditionally, what you see out there for any type of vehicle is solid axles.
So you need to be able to fit a large tire, and you pretty much have to be willing to cut up your vehicle to do that for the most part. Even with a D2 or something like that, you're going to have to cut your fenders. So it's really hard to do like an LR4. Yeah, you need to create some clearance in there, chop some things up, and these other independent like the LR3s, LR4s being heavy, it's like you really need a lot of tire to drag those things uphill. So that's an important aspect to why a lot of the older ones, which are lighter, are really nice to have on there.
That would give a series truck an advantage too, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
being so light.
And another thing about it's like where the weight is too. So on a D2, it's a really popular platform, mainly because you can get them in solid axle form. They're not that expensive, but it's weighted so heavy in the back that they're always like pulling up their wheels. So it's nice with some of the other lighter vehicles. They tend to kind of hold their rear
sliders and armor is really the minimum requirement. And you run into this thing when you run into people all the time that say, oh, I ran it in my 30-inch tires or ran it. You hear people ran it in all kinds of different things. And it's not impossible to do all that. But what people forget about is we have a really narrow time frame. We're trying to get through the trail in a pretty orderly fashion. We don't want to be that club, that event that is like blocking the trail and preventing progress from other vehicles. It's not uncommon to see hundreds of vehicles out there in a weekend. We want our club and the event to maintain a good rapport and a good reputation on the trail, and we move quickly. We move out of the way when we need to. We're not here to like mess things up. We're not bringing vehicles out there that really don't need to be there.
Right.
And if you want to bring something out there that's, less than capable, and that's a good thing to do during the weekday, like on Tuesday or Wednesday by yourself, and have plenty of time, and you can winch yourself across every obstacle out there if you need be.
Yeah, we have to maintain a decent reputation on trail, not only for the event, but because outside of the event, it's really pretty rare to see Land Rovers out on the trail. A lot of times we're representing the brand and, the Land Rover owner as a whole. So we make sure to have these vehicle requirements, not because something less can't do it, but because we don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. You don't want to go slow. You don't want to hold everybody else up. You're looking to keep moving.
Yeah, just
people
because
are
a weekend
nasty out there.
Just because you
People
can get
get
away with the
overrated.
lesser spec doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, not for an event like this when we're trying to move in these kind of these groups and make good time and stuff like that. Because a lot of places, like especially if you're familiar with any of the particular areas, like something like Cadillac Hill, you're going to be as fast as the slowest guy on the trail because there's very little room to get around. So sometimes if somebody breaks down, you'll be sitting there parked waiting for hours.
Yeah. It's a chauffeur that comes outside of the Rubicon River Valley up to the Tahoe Basin. And you gain about 1,000 feet and probably less than 400 yards, 300 yards, really steep kind of climb. Nowhere really to pass. And the whole time you're doing, there's obstacles. So it's not like a fire road.
Definitely not green laning.
No, there are obstacles, and it's got its name because of a Cadillac, a 1930s Cadillac that was launched off the side of the road there. It's still remnants are still there on the side of the trail.
Is there a lot of cooperation, I take it, amongst the group to keep cars moving through, keep the trucks moving through?
Yeah, we break down into, anywhere between 4 to 6 groups and trying to keep the vehicle wheelbase pretty similar so that when you're watching someone in front of you, you have an understanding if that line's going to work for you or not. If you got someone on 88 inches, like a Defender 90, and then someone on a 110 line number or a 130, they're not doing the same lines. Plus, then you got tire sizes, people running 40s all the way down to people running 33s. So it's a lot of variability as to what you're on the trail.
We're careful about who we have as trail leaders. I have a D2 that I generally run there, and I'll pull the D2s with me. And it's also important because breakage, it happens over there. It's something over the 3 days. It's guaranteed. It's just a matter of how much. So by having the same vehicles, we can coordinate parts. So we're not always having to carry everything. We can coordinate tools. And then you don't have something like a D2 in the first group needing to shuttle back like an axle all the way to the last group or something. So we try to coordinate that as best we can.
So similar vehicles in a pod of, if you will, different waves, different stages go out. That's smart.
And then,
That's
of course, you have some guys who like to get up at the butt crack of dawn and get out there really early. It's a pun because Dawn is always that guy. And then me, I'm the late guy. I always take the last group. So we have a kind of, at this point, kind of have like our little system. And it's like the same people coming for the most part every year now. Like 75% of the guys are all regular returners.
We've got about 25 to 30 trucks every year. And I would say 4 or 5 new vehicles come every year, new vehicles.
Yeah.
And they're coming from far. We got guys from Florida, Maine, the whole Eastern Seaboard comes to this. Utah, Arizona, Southern California, from a wide variety, Washington, Oregon.
Maine is impressive.
Maine's impressive, but we had a guy sign up this year, lives in the Caribbean, but keeps a Discovery 2 in Washington for off-roading, just for like vacation trips. Right. So he's flying in from the Caribbean, driving his truck down. So I'll be curious to see how he enjoys it.
Yeah.
It's not the same as a sailboat in the Caribbean, that's for sure.
Nope.
Nope. So it's a 3-day event and you go in different stages and every night camp at a different spot. What's the day like?
We start off pretty slow. We encourage everyone to get there on Thursday. You don't have to, obviously. And actually, the event is set up in a way that you know where we're staying every night. So folks that are local, are familiar with the trail, they can meet us on Saturday if they wanted to come in the Lake Tahoe side and come down to the Rubicon Springs and hang out for the night. And that's fairly common for the Rubicon type events. People can come and go as they want. But for the traditional thing, everyone kind of shows up Thursday throughout the day, stages their stuff, camps, recovers, rests. And then Friday is a pretty short day. We go into winter camp is the area we traditionally camp at. It's right by Spider Lake and Little Fluke. It's not even 3 miles from the trailhead. So it's easy hiking in and out. It keeps us away from the traditional camp sites and party sites for a Friday night, which we think works really well for our group. There's also a lake there, so we can swim and get all the dust off you. And then the views from the campground are pretty amazing of the valley below.
It's adjacent to a couple of the major obstacles. Little Sluice, where you're like maybe 75 yards from. So a lot of people go hang out over there and just watch people drive through. It's usually entertaining. And then Super
all night
Bowl,
long.
but yeah.
Oh, really?
And
It's like
Super
a
Bowl is probably like a
24
couple hundred
hour
yards away.
So you can learn what not to do.
Yeah, the
Well,
first year we
you'll
ran
see a
it-
lot of stuff. That's for sure.
The first year we were there, we got everybody set up to camp. Everyone was starting to relax. And we told folks, hey, this trail is 24 hours. It's a road. People run this all night long. Some people get to the point where they just want to run it at night only. And sure enough, we saw a guy coming through with a brand new Toyota Tacoma that was not equipped. You plenty of Tacomas out there that are ready to go, but this guy was not, and proceeded to break everything, get himself stuck. So we kindly helped him get turned around and get pointed back towards the entrance. But that's fairly common to see. The other major obstacle I think Eric was going to mention is Soup Bowl is right there, which is an optional line, but it's worth Googling views of that for the listeners. And we just released a video of last year's run. We had a couple of vehicles attempt it, so there's some action of that in there as well. But it's a really steep off-camber ledge setup that when you in the winter when you get all the snow, it collects into a bowl. That's how the name Soup Bowl came about. But you drive straight up and then turn to the right, fall onto your passenger side, and then kick around with your rear tires to spin you up out of it. It's pretty impressive to watch the vehicles that have the wheelbase and the tire height to do it.
Sounds like an opportunity for a lot of vehicle damage.
It's really not that bad, actually. So the way that Greg is talking about, it's really tried and true. It's really laid out for you. So you know ahead of time if you want to take that line, where the risks are. And you don't see a lot of stuff happening, although we did have a flop on that one with one of our vehicles at ROVICON 1, I believe. But it's pretty safe from body damage and stuff. It's really more of a traction issue. So a lot of times you either make it, you don't, just back out of it. You don't see a ton of damage on that particular obstacle, but it might be the most famous rock crawling single obstacle there is out there. So it's really like a feather in your cap if you could make it up and you get some bragging rights. So it's fun in that way.
And it really ends up being a math game. Like breakover clearance is the key and keeping traction on all four tires. So it's like shorter wheelbases have a harder time with it, but then longer ones that have shorter tires get stuck too. So it's 37s with a 100-inch wheelbase, you're going to do okay on it. 110-inch wheelbase of 37s, you run out of too long. Essentially, at that point, you need a 40-inch tire. So it's that you got to do the math to figure out if you're going to break over the edge or not.
Well, you just go give it a shot. But the nice thing too is you're always going to have a little crowd there. You're always going to have more spotters than you want usually. So you're not like on your own.
Sometimes too many spotters. Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely get
all
the peanut
all
galleries.
competing with the voices in your own head for advice.
Yeah.
You can't see much. That's the other problem. When you take that rod, you can't see anything. Your nose is very vertical and you're off to the passenger side leaning. So you can't see where any of your tires are. So it's definitely a feel drive. You get a feel through it.
Is that where the new Defender and its cameras would come into play?
That would be interesting, actually. That would be fun to see from the inside. It might short it out or something.
That'd be
The
interesting.
360 overhead camera, that'd be impressive to see on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost think that might be a place where a right-hand drive would be preferable.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Anybody
So
doing a
you
right-hand
kind of-
drive?
You get off camber to where the right hand is low. And me personally, I always prefer off camber being on the high side.
I understand that. I understand that from a confidence standpoint, but from a visibility standpoint, you might be better off on the right-hand side.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would
maybe.
agree.
If you don't make it right up in your first attempt, and nobody really does, is after that, all you're doing is just listening to your spotter and you have no idea where your wheels are.
It's definitely worth looking up the pictures. I
Yeah.
can send you guys some too from Instagram. But the fall is about like from the ground floor to the top of the ledge. It's about 9 feet, 8 feet. So it's if you do dump it and slide off the edge, it's not a small fall.
No.
It's not when you're likely going to not survive, but you'll remember it vividly.
I think it would depend on what vehicle you're in and if there's a roll cage or not.
I haven't seen anybody try it without. Typically, most people try to have at least a full body vehicle or a cage of some kind. It's not something you want to try if you're ready for it.
You're open top series 1, maybe not. So you get to each stage during the day and you get to the different obstacles. And is it quite busy during this time with the other folks being on the trail, or is that variable depending on?
Friday's a really busy day. The traditional run for Friday is from Loon Lake to Buck Island, which when we first started the event, that was what we did as well. It just got to be difficult to find camping for 25 to 30 rinks there. So
Plus,
that's
it's
what
a
we came up with the idea.
6-hour drive generally. So what we like to do on the first day, have
wow.
it short, is because we'll have people coming in to where they'll be coming in a little later on Friday. So I'll take the last group, and I'm comfortable leaving the staging area early afternoon, like 2:00, and still making it over to camp with plenty of time. When we first did it over to Buck Island, which is that longer 6-hour drive, we felt the pressure of having to leave. So this makes it much more relaxed, and we can count on getting the camping that we want. Over at Buck
The
Island,
campsite we want.
it's busy. Yeah, it's busy. You never know what you're going to get.
So there's
and
no
it's-
advanced reservation for the campsites. It's first come, first serve.
There's only one private property that's the Rubicon Springs where we camp on Saturday night. And we secure that in advance. We got a really good relationship with the owners there and make sure we get the same place every time. And we have access to the fire pit, which is really hard to do because fire restrictions are in place usually from June 1st to November 1st. So we do that. There's a really fun party kind of environment at Buck Island. And if you're not ready for it, it's also difficult for some folks who are like exhausted after driving 6 hours on rocks. So we found that too to be like, it was a little too much for some people that first night. So we saved that we keep those kind of libations for Saturday night where they've conquered 2 days on the trail and they're feeling a little good about themselves versus the first night. And the views that we have on Friday are pretty amazing there. And the ability to swim in a lake and do that stuff is still there. So we hit a body of water every day. And then on Saturday when we get up and we go through Little Sluice and go by Buck Island, it's not uncommon for Eric and some of the girls that are going late if they're making good time, they'll stop at Buck Island and swim and explore that too. So you still get to see all these lakes as you're passing them if you want to.
Yeah, we usually take like a couple hours over there. Generally, my late group is the guys who feel more comfortable driving the trail, who've done it more. They generally feel more comfortable going late, where generally you'll get like some of the guys who haven't done it before aren't as comfortable wanting to give themselves more time. So our last group is usually pretty relaxed, less spotting, more beer drinking and relaxing.
Right. And you bring all your food and drink for the 3 days?
Yeah, it's pack in, pack out. We have generous beer sponsors.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, we
East,
provide you a
East
good
Brothers,
start.
The guy who owns it is a member, and for pretty much all of our big events, even some of the small ones, he'll come and bring up some flats of beers for us. And we did do kegs the first year or two. And that was just a hassle. I had a keg spill in my car while we're driving, and that was like a disaster. I opened up the tailgate, and I got maybe 3 inches of beer and foam, just like
I got the
pouring
video
out.
of it going into the next ROVICON video I'm making right now.
It was a river
be
coming down my
highlighted.
bumper and onto the dirt.
That's almost like
So-
milk when it gets into the upholstery. It's difficult to get out, and
Yeah.
dried
when
up
it would
beers.
get hot out,
Yeah.
for a good like year and a half, whenever on a hot day, it would smell like old beer in my car.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was rough.
Honest, officer, I was not drinking while driving. Honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today.
So
Hey.
now we do the cans, and that's much better.
Yeah. The thing with kegs is it's not necessarily the keg, although I understand you had an issue with that. It's maintaining that temperature or the pressure to get the beer to come in and come out with the jockey box. And
We brought a jockey box with us
Yeah.
and brought 2 ice chests of ice just for the jockey box. And it's not uncommon for us to have 95, 100-degree temperatures in the
Yeah.
Sierras in the summer.
Mhm.
So the first day with the
Difficult.
beer tasted pretty good. The second day we're like scrambling to find ice to keep the jockey box cold enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not to mention, you start getting a lot of foam when you first pull that
Because it's
sucker out.
bouncing around so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the temperature. It has to do with the temperature, maintaining that temperature to keep it from foaming.
So cans,
Okay.
now we do a certain number. I think he does 2 4
Yep.
packs per
Sure.
driver and a 4-pack per passenger. It's pretty generous.
That's a
nation.
whole Land Rover carrying beer itself. That's wonderful.
Yeah. He's got some really good beers from Pilsner type stuff all the way to the West Coast IPAs for folks like me.
I will, maybe we need to organize sending you some of the special Land Rover artwork beer can that we had for the Vintage
I
Grand
saw
Prix.
that one. It looked
Mhm.
pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm interested. I
Okay.
can find a
well,
place for it.
We'll talk offline. Maybe we'll send you some.
Speaking of artwork,
Yes.
have you seen the artwork for this coming in ROVICON 5?
I was looking at the website, but please enlighten our listeners, because it looks like it's a Indiana Jones theme.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
No,
Every-
for
we-
listeners, we just saw a cap that has the ROVICON 5 look.
And for other listeners, I'm wearing the ROVICON 4 hat, which is themed after Grand Theft Auto. So
That's very cool.
it's fairly common for other off-road groups on the West Coast to do themed events every year. We piggybacked off of that to keep it
Well,
in the
sort of.
spirit of it.
I don't know of another, like, they'll do
Not specific themes
but-
like this.
Yeah. But we go with more of the parody theme, to where we did for 3, we started with the Back to the Future theme, and then we did the Grand Theft Auto. Now we're on the Indiana Jones. I don't know of another off-road event that does it in that way, just like general themes. We want to have some fun with it, so we enjoy it.
We took a chance on Indiana Jones 5 being a good movie, which it was. So to piggyback off the same for ROVICON 5.
It's either that or Barbie, and we went with the ROVICON 5. Or the Indiana Jones.
There's always next year,
Yeah.
ROVICON 6.
Yeah, Barbie's a real hit. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
Put
It'd
it in
be,
the hat, see what comes out.
that'd
You
be
need to
better
get
than.
Need to get you a pink Freelander if you're going to do that.
Oh, that'd be
Hey,
fun.
there you
I always thought it'd be really fun to put that on some really big, like, Toyota axles and bring it in there. Harry Wagner had a Geo Tracker that was lifted on 37s with Toyota axles. It was really good on the trail. And I always joked with him, said, I want to get a Freelander or one of those. What was the other one that was similar to it?
Disc or
No, it was
LR2.
something 2. What
The
was it
LR2.
called? Yeah, the LR2.
Mhm.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was the
an
second
LR2
gen Freelander.
Yeah. I thought that'd be great. But the Freelander had the top that came off in the back, right?
That was one of the submodels. It was the SE3.
The 3-door model.
Yeah.
That would be
thought that
good for a Barbie car.
was- that pink, pay it pink.
I don't know that there's any that still that run though. There was
But
one.
they don't have
couple
to
years
run. You
ago.
only need the body.
That's true. Good point.
You only need
Yeah.
the body. Set it on a lifted disco chassis.
In addition to East Brothers Brewing, we got a couple other sponsors for ROVICON this year. And Tim Scully with Scully Off-Road is one we've been working with for a while, who helps keep the trail moving on your vehicle. So if you have a breakdown, we need an extra pair of hands to help get your rig back up and running. He actually usually carries quite a bit of spare parts as well. We always seem to have some sort of axle shaft, CV, or ring and pinion go, and we're able to get people turned around pretty quickly. Last few years hasn't been much of a delay, so that's nice to have. And Voyager also is participating, and they've been working with the new Defender that we were talking about earlier, Kong, with a really cool roof rack for that vehicle that actually has roof rack sliders, which I think is the only one that's out there. So there's sliders on the side of the roof rack. So as you tip over, lean into a tree, it doesn't actually damage the vehicle or the roof rack. It helps slide across it. So you can see those on the new Defender column as well if you look at some
That's a
pictures.
cool idea.
That is actually.
Yeah, didn't know that the Voyager owners and founders are longtime Rover guys because they make products for many vehicles. They hope to attend next year as well. So it'd be good to see them out there. I think they have a Range Rover Classic going to bring in.
How do you register? And if you're looking to attend, or if you want to learn more, maybe consider coming for ROVICON 6, the Barbie edition. I'm already naming
The Barbie
it.
edition.
I'm already giving you a theme.
So currently, it's set up for members only. I'll be changing that by the time this airs so that non-members can sign up as well. Little heads up, the price doesn't actually change. It's slightly higher for non-members. It just covers the cost of membership without giving you the benefit of membership. Always encourage folks just to become a member, and you can see other things that are going on with the club, the calendar and forum and trade, swap parts, all that kind of fun stuff is there too. And for all those other members out there that are part of NERC clubs, we will extend the membership discount to you as well versus paying the public rate. We should be able to have that up and going in the checkout box, but if not, just message me directly on Instagram or email the marketing email at NorCal Land Rovers, and we'll get you hooked up. We do have a ROVICON.org page that gives you some some insights as to what's going on. We've started getting our YouTube videos going for the NorCal Land Rovers page. We've only posted 2 in the last 10 years, so I'm changing that a little bit. They're not the greatest quality as I'm making them, so I apologize in advance.
It's always good to add the rover porn.
Yeah, we're collecting all the videos that people take and like chronologically placing it across the trail so that you get the view of if you're walking along, spotting or taking pictures, you get that kind of view of the car going through the obstacles.
It's also good intel and research if you're thinking about going on the trail.
Yeah, you could just search ROVICON at YouTube because I didn't have the password for our NCLR one for years, but I guess you got it now, Greg. So like I have ROVICON videos from 1 to whatever that are on YouTube, but I push that over to the actual club.
So yeah, it's
Hey,
NCLR club is what to look for.
The
We'll
club's
look,
been
of
around
course,
for
notes.
15 years, so occasionally we lose track of things, and passwords and all those kinds of fun stuff.
Things happen. Clubs change. People change. Yes. So you can register at rovicon.org. And what is the cost?
I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's 100. Yeah, it's
I think 135.
For a driver, and like 90, 35 for a passenger. You get a bunch of stuff, camping. And then the club's a not-for-profit, so the money goes back into keeping the trails open and
you get a shirt, you get a patch, you get stickers, you get a koozie. So we have a bunch of goodies because for a lot of people,
beer,
especially
apparently.
when this first started, this was like a bucket list thing. So for a lot of people, it's like, never did the Rubicon Trail. It's a big deal. It's probably the best, most well-known trail. So people wanted to do it. This was a good, safe environment to do it on. And so a lot of people, because there's a bucket list, we want to have souvenirs for them. So we have relatively a lot of swag compared to a lot of other events. So that 135 is our goal is always just to get as close to breaking even as we can. It's not filling our pockets or anything.
Yeah, we're all volunteers for the club. This is what we'd like to do with our free time, and we'd like to share and grow the interest in Land Rovers and rock crawling and in the West Coast rock crawling scene. And we've had folks make trips out here and extend it and run Fort Ice or Barrett Lakes, which are very similar trails to the Rubicon. If you're coming from the East Coast, extend your stay. Don't just come for the 3 days on the trail. Like, the trail ends in Lake Tahoe, for example. Enjoy the lake for a couple of days too before you head back. There's a lot to see in the area, and it's worth it.
I think it's a good idea too, because I'd hate to drive all the way across the country to an event that lasts less time than it took me to get there.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. In the general area, there's a lot to do, a lot of lakes and stuff if you're into that stuff. And obviously Lake Tahoe, most people are probably familiar with a lot of nice touristy stuff. So you could actually we have people, you bring your family out here and maybe they're not into that kind of camping and rock crawling, dump them off in Tahoe for a few days. They'll have a good time. Casinos over there, and you can go run the trail, meet up with them later.
Yeah. Stay a week or two, have some fun.
We also have people that tow their trucks out, which is it's pretty common for the people that are coming from pretty far. So for those folks, you don't actually have to go up like Donald side if you want to. You can run it backwards from the Rubicon Springs all the way back to Lisbon. And that's a fairly common thing to do as well. So you'll see sometimes we have posted like the trail ends on the 27th or the 28th, depending on if you're running it backwards or not. If we get enough people that have an interest in running it backwards with trailer rigs, then we'll organize them to head back on their own and go out Monday.
For future planning, is it always in the same time frame? That are you always doing this in August?
We'll always do it in August. We work a little bit a victim to the timing of the property. We have a really good experience with this campsite, so we kind of work with the property owner and other reservations to make sure that we have access to it. But yeah, I would say towards the later half of August, pretty successful at getting the campsite
And part of that is, so that's the Rubicon Springs that he's talking about. And that's basically the only place to really hold events, and everybody uses it. So it's important that we reserve that for a couple of reasons. One is obviously we want to utilize it ourselves, but another is we don't want to try to go up against a huge event, like let's say a Toyota event or Jeep event that's going to have an extra 200 vehicles on the trail or something. A lot of those events, they're a lot bigger than ours. They've been going on for a lot longer, even if they, had some breaks during the COVID times. So we don't really get precedent over those guys. So we're a little subject to, how the scheduling works. But our goal is to be as consistent as possible.
Fascinating for you guys here is the Jeep Jamboree and Jeepers Jamboree actually get pre passes for the road. And so from sunrise to sunset, you can't transit the road during their time from a Thursday through a Sunday. So you can go out there and there's plenty of places to camp, but you're only doing night wheeling. And then they do have 300 to 600 trucks or Jeeps on the trail this time. So it's a lot. There's a lot out there. If you're not part of that group, it's too much. So we make sure that we're not coinciding with them. And specifically because we don't want to be limited to what times we can transit the trail.
I encourage folks to go check out ROVICON.org to understand what is happening with ROVICON. You guys have really good FAQs. I went through those and very helpful and insightful if you're thinking about going, because especially if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to go out and for the first time on a trail, this is not the event for you. Definitely read through the FAQs, understand. Actually, one question I did have is you use ham radios. Out of curiosity, why not the GMRS, or is there something I don't understand about that communication
just
channel?
The altitude in the mountains. It doesn't have the distance and the range. The ham radios are really well received here on the West Coast, and we've got quite a vast repeater system as well. So when you're out of line of sight, you can still hit repeaters and broadcasts to your groups. If you get a multi-channel radio, you can have local comms, kind of convoy comms, as well as listening on the repeater for people that are having issues or it breaks or rollovers on a part of the trail that you are transiting towards, that we can give you a heads up that you can maybe take a break and get lunch when you weren't thinking about it. That's the main reason.
Cool.
Yeah, the ham tends to have better range in that terrain. We're talking 2-meter ham here, I'm assuming.
Yeah, sure. For.
But the real reason we do it is basically inertia. The club's been using that forever. People have been putting it in their vehicles. So changing is nearly impossible.
Right.
Got it. It's what's already in use. Got it.
Yeah. And
really about infrastructure on the trail, hard to not using.
Yeah, but we really don't use the infrastructure, the repeaters generally. But we also have a ton of handhelds. So when people don't have one, we have enough where we can just hand them out and let people borrow it. You don't have to be like that ham literate or anything like that. We generally just use it like a walkie-talkie to talk between our groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, we encourage club members to get their license, but obviously it's not a requirement to go on a trail run and have a license. But
I don't have my license. I don't encourage anybody to get it. I don't care.
Greg and Eric, thanks very much for coming on and talking about ROVICON. And any last thoughts for people that might be thinking about coming to ROVICON?
Go check out some of our videos, see some of the vehicles are going out there and some of the obstacles up. For a lot of people, it's not going to be something that they're like, oh, maybe I'll try to make it this year. But if it's something you're interested in, it's good motivation. You can learn a lot about how maybe you should go about building your vehicle so it can accommodate it, because nobody likes to build a vehicle twice. If you're going to dump some money into it, make sure you're confident that you're throwing it in the right things if you want to do something like this. And if you could do this event, there are very few trails out there that you won't be equipped for.
Yeah, get active in the group, get active in the club, reach out to ourselves on Instagram, and I'm glad to answer any question, help you plan your trip. If it's something you're thinking about doing, we'll help you get out here and it's not next year, the following year kind of thing. So love to see the actual kind of, I would say, hardcore rock crawling of Land Rovers grow. You'd be surprised. It doesn't take to have a buggy on 40s to do some of these cool trails. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, you can have a buggy on 38s and you'll be completely fine.
Yeah.
If you're interested in finding out more, we also have a club podcast. If you search NCLR After Dark, it's going to be on Apple and Spotify. And we have some ROVICON episodes where we talk about the event, and then we also recap the event for last year. So then we get in a little more in depth in some of the minutia of it, and tell some stories about what happens. So that if this event interests you, then those episodes might interest you. And also, if this podcast interests you, it's a Land Rover podcast. So
Another one. That's good. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the Land Rover podcasting world.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying to we feel more of the West Coast rock crawling niche, but it's nice to have more flavors of Land Rover podcasts on there.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
You're also available on Overcast. I just looked on I use Overcast as my listener, and it shows up on Overcast. So it probably shows up in probably shows up in all major podcast applications.
Yeah, I actually never heard of Overcast, but it's good to know. Yeah, I'm relatively ignorant on all the platforms, but I know we're on Apple, Spotify, and apparently Overcast.
And yeah, I suspect then you would be on Google and all the other ones. So good, excellent. I encourage folks to subscribe to your podcast, NCLR After Dark. I like it.
Yes.
We'll have a link in the show notes, of course.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming on the program.
Thanks for having us.
Knightsbridge Overland seat covers help protect your classic Land Rover, whether you're on the trail or cruising around town. They're the perfect solution for protecting your pristine Land Rover seats or to cover up your well-worn and aged seats. Each seat cover is hand-cut and sewn in the USA for a custom fit that looks like it's straight from the factory. Every seat cover is crafted using 600 denier Cordera material. It's waterproof, oil, and dust resistant. Knightsbridge Overland seat covers are designed to be extremely comfortable and keep you warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer while providing protection against mud, dirt, grime, and bird crap, and more. Knightsbridge Overland seat covers are available for most classic Land Rovers, including Series, Defender, Discovery, and Range Rover. Select Knightsbridge Overland seat covers that's right for your Rover. Available in both tactical and non-tactical versions in 4 colors: black, tan, mocha, and gray. I have the mocha in my truck. Our tactical seat covers include military-grade MOLLE webbing that accommodates pouches, weapons, tools, first aid kits, and more. Non-tactical seat covers feature 3 handy pockets for much-needed extra storage in your Land Rover. They're very handy. Visit knightsbridgeoverland.com and enter STEER10 at checkout for 10% off your Knightsbridge Overland seat cover order. That's knightsbridgeoverland.com and enter STEER10 for 10% off your order. Protect and enhance your Land Rover seats with Knightsbridge Overland. Welcome back to the Centresteer podcast. Steve Owen. Welcome back, Steve.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. When we last talked, you were going to drive your Series 1, your 1953 Series 1 TCM. You were going to drive that from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, all the way to Cortland, New York for the Diamond Jubilee. So I guess we should say, first question, were you successful?
Absolutely. Beyond my wildest dreams.
I saw you there, so I do know it was successful. But yeah, that's great.
Yep. And yeah, it turns out I was the only one who drove his Series 1 to the event.
Yes.
4 days to get there, average 200 miles a day. We did on the clock. By the time I parked up at the primitive campgrounds at Greek Peak, I had 793 miles on the odometer.
Nice.
From setting off.
And did you have any problems, any hiccups, any issues, mechanical problems?
Not on the way there. The trip on the way over went pretty smooth. I had a few issues. The first one was quite comical because I went to fill up with gas. And of course, all the pumps are prepaid, to realize that I had left my debit card on my desk at home.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
Whoops.
Yeah, at that stage, cash was king. And a quick phone call to my dearly beloved wife, Pat, and she actually mailed my card to the event, and I actually received it the day after I got there. But 4 days without a debit card across Michigan, Ontario, and New York was, it was interesting, to say the least.
I bet. A little challenging.
Yeah, prepaid. Run inside, hand them a $50 bill, put $20 of gas in, and go back in and get a receipt. But no, the event, quick rundown. The first day we left Oshkosh, I did have some members, and I owe these guys a tremendous round of applause, because I had members of the Minnesota Land Rover Club follow me in convoy to the event. There was a Series 2A ex-military ambulance, 2 Series 2s, 2As, station wagons, 109 station wagons, and a 1991 Range Rover Classic. All vehicles that could do way better speeds than I could, because I topped out at 40 miles an hour cruising, and they stuck with me for the 4 days all the way to Greek Peak.
Excellent. That's good to
So
hear.
you forced them to get good fuel mileage.
Actually, the guy in the Range Rover said he got the best mileage he'd ever had. Yeah, so
Exactly.
ever. But he didn't need to stop at every gas station like I did. Obviously, Series 1 only has a 10-gallon tank, and the fuel gauge is not the most accurate thing on the vehicle. So I usually drove about 80 miles, 100 miles, and then I needed a break. So we stopped at the gas station and filled up. About an hour and a half, 2-hour run at the time, and then stop for a break.
You almost have to think that Land Rover planned it that way.
As John as we've and how Harold as we've met in person, that I'm not the smallest guy in the world.
Yes.
And the Series 1 is not built for me. Definitely not. Having a small tank does have its advantages. First day of the journey, so we left Oshkosh Sunday morning. I drove over to Manitowoc on Lake Michigan, caught the SS Badger, which is the last coal-fired car ferry operating in the United States. A little trivia, the Badger and my Series 1 are exactly the same age. They were both built in 1952, and they were both put into service in 1953.
And they're both in service now.
And they're both in service now, both running, both seasonal, I add, because once it snows, mine comes off the road, and I think the Badger stops crossing in late September, October, and goes in for winter maintenance. First day, cross on the Badger. It's a 4-hour cruise across Lake Michigan. Very entertaining. They do bingo and movies on the ferry as you're crossing. So that got us to Michigan. The first night was a campsite, which I was a little concerned of, because it was a first come, first serve campsite. I needn't have worried, because we got there Sunday night and we had the whole campgrounds to ourselves. That was okay. Second day, and again, we're using back roads. I think I mentioned in the planning on the last talk, I use Cycle app, so it keeps me off the highways. Second day, we drove across Michigan and headed southeast, following, in actual fact, it turned out to be, and we can Google this, but it's U.S. Cycle Route number 20. And it goes across Michigan, and we followed probably 90% of that across Michigan. Ended up in, and I know I'm going to mispronounce this, ended up in Algonac on the St. Clair River. That was interesting, because we could watch the lake raiders going up and down the river. Across Algonac, then there is a small car ferry that goes across the St. Clair River from Algonac to Wheeland in Canada, Ontario. Border crossing took all of 5 minutes at the most. I think they were more interested in the vehicle than they were in anything else.
As they should be.
And they were a little worried. I'd actually driven it from Wisconsin, which at that stage, that was about the halfway point. I was about 400 miles in. So the answer was yes. That was Monday to get across Michigan. Tuesday, we drove across Ontario, which was very simple, because it was only 2 roads. And I navigate, and I'll just backstep here. I don't use GPS. I have a positive ground on and a dynamo on the Series 1. It's all original. So I can't put the modern electronics in it very easily. So I have a paper map with instructions, with waypoints on. And as I cross those waypoints, I strike them off the map. And it's held on the dashboard with a magnet. And that's my navigation. It does lead to me getting lost occasionally, but that's okay. It's part of the adventure. But that particular day across Ontario, it was called Kings Highway 3. It's an old road, back road that runs from Detroit to Niagara Falls, roughly. Was used in the colonial era to move troops. It's now basically like, an easy way to describe it is like Route 66. It's an old Route 66. That got us to Niagara Falls, overnighted in Niagara, crossed back into the United States at Niagara, and then came across New York to Cortland, arriving in the rain on Wednesday evening.
Yes, the rain on Wednesday.
Yes.
We all did.
Yes.
Yeah. Getting there was, and I've said this before, it was an emotional roller coaster because I had the fear of breaking down. I had the worries of breaking down. But I got there. Yes, it was pouring down with rain, but I was so happy to be there. Our fellow podcaster, the first person to actually greet me at Great Peak was Ike. And Ike and I ended up standing in the pouring rain talking for about an hour, looking like drowned rats.
Because neither of you wanted to set up your camp.
Nope, we couldn't. So we sat there chit-chatting and catching up. And first time I'd ever met Ike in person. We talked over the phone a lot of times over the number of years of restoring TCM. But yeah, so that was the journey there. Interesting, adventurous, enjoyable.
And no major issues.
No major issues. I had one scurry part. Probably shouldn't put this on her, but I will. I had one scurry part where with the convoy, you get people behind you, and I couldn't see past the station wagon. So they'd all move over to the side of the road, let people pass. One time I did not look back. I looked up. There was a semi barreling down on me. It was in New York in the rain on Wednesday.
Ouch.
And I don't think, to be honest, he'd seen me. I truly believe this. I looked up from the mirror, looked up in front of me to move over, and there was a mailbox. So I'm thinking mailbox.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And then I realized that the ditch at the side of the road wasn't that bad. So I literally cranked on the wheel, put the Land Rover in the ditch, went bouncing through the ditch onto somebody's front lawn, drove along his front lawn for about 20, 30 yards as a semi went barreling past me, and then went back in the ditch and came back on the highway like nothing had happened. I was told by the fellow travelers from Minnesota that I left some quite interesting tread marks on the guy's front lawn. And they advised me not to go back that way in case he was waiting for me. But that was the only scurry moment of the whole trip out there. The rest of it, some of it, I'd get trucks past me. And of course, I'm riding with no door tops on. So a truck would go past and I'd get all the spray would get sucked into the vehicle.
Yep.
I quickly learned a towel, wipe the inside of the windshield down. I only have one windshield wiper anyway. So otherwise, no, it was pretty uneventful. Exciting, but uneventful.
That's exactly what you want in an old Land Rover while driving the highways and byways.
As long as you know where your towel is.
As long as you know where your towel is, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you must have your towel. So
exactly right.
I've actually upped it in my Defender. I have 2 towels now.
Oh,
if it's going to have 1 towel, it's got to be great to have 2.
Backup systems.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Well, the other part was with the rain, Series 1's being an export model, has the front vent, the one-piece vent. Mine leaks. It drips on the dashboard, rolls off the dashboard right onto my right foot.
As they all did.
Welcome to the club, brother. Welcome to the club.
They all do that. That's a factory installed feature.
Yeah, so I can honestly say I had the cleanest right foot on arrival.
Wet foot. Wet foot.
Yeah, wet foot. Yeah, dry.
Probably a tad pruny.
I'm not the slimmest guy in the world, so I don't really look. It probably was pruny.
There is a
that's-
way to fix that. I use a grocery store plastic bag. That is the best thing I found.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. But so that was the event. That was getting there. The event, what can I say? Fantastic, organized, way too many things for me to do. As I know, I ran into meeting, part of it for me, and not one of the reasons, but was meeting people like Ike and Bill Cooper and Joe's Avery, those guys who have helped me, Ike, those guys who have over the years have helped me with the Series 1, and I've never met. And they were all there. So for me, it was like a family reunion. It was like meeting the people you've grown to know and respect, and just getting to talk to these people in person. Quentin Aspin was another one. Howard Smith's another one. And a few of the other guys. There's so many. And then meeting people, Nick Dimbleby, great guy to talk to, obviously with his history with the photography and everything with the Camel Trophy. And he did a really good seminar, actually, there. Even with the weather, it wasn't, as we know, Friday was probably the nicest day there, but only once visit the trails. I wish I'd done more of that. Having the impromptu Series 1 photo shoot, and then Saturday having the more official photo shoot. Of course, that's where my troubles began.
Wait, you had troubles? You had troubles?
Oh, yes, I had troubles. And this is on Saturday. They decided at, I think it was at 1 o'clock, to have all the Series 1s that were there that could drive meet up on the hill, and we did an official photo shoot. So we had the Tickford. They brought the 48 out, I think, that was in the tent. Obviously not the Centresteer replica. Paul Dixon's one, Ben's, Smith's, all those guys, Eric Zipkins, Bill Cooper's, a bunch of all the ones that could drive were brought up there. I think the only one that didn't make it was, I know Quentin was out on a trail, and Keith Barrett had his golden Yukon there. And of course, that's no engine or gearbox in it. We all lined up on the hill, did a bunch of photographs. Everybody was happy. And then Dixon persuaded me, and of course she's not here tonight, but Dixon persuaded me that I really should take one of the trails.
You mean Dixon is conveniently not here?
Yeah, probably. No, in actual fact, I got to say this. He did convince me, let's go do a trail. Because, as he said, if you do break something, there's 14 other Land Rovers that didn't drive here that we can steal parts off to make sure you get home. You talk about serendipity, because I hit the first hill, lost all power. Ooh. I couldn't even make it up the hill. And it wasn't that steep either. Backed off the hill, Dixon and I took another ride, lost all power. We managed to back off the hill, get it down to the parking lot. I started to do some tests. Long story short, I had 0 compression on number 4 cylinder. The other ones were low. Number 4 was dead in the water. At that stage, I will freely admit, my heart was in my ass. I was so downtrodden, depressed, thinking, here I am, 800 miles from home, no engine. What am I going to do?
That's going to make for a long ride home.
It's going to make for a long ride home, or a long tow. Fortunately, the guys came together, Dixon, Quinton, Aspen, a couple of the other guys from Minnesota Club. John went. We diagnosed a problem which turned out to be the tappet on number 4 exhaust had come loose and dropped. And it was enough to stop the valve opening, closing. I think it was stopped, actually. We got it freed up. We went through it all, cleaned everything up, cleaned the plugs, cleaned everything. And about 3.5 hours later, I took a 10-mile test drive up and down the hills around Cortland. And as Harold, you were there, there's some nice hills around there. But I stayed on the roads, took it out, and it was as strong as ever. So I went from a real low, I should jump off the cliff type thing, to, wow, where's the nearest beer tent? I need to get drunk. And I will admit, Saturday night, I was feeling no pain when I crawled in my bed. I didn't even make it through the movie. And by this time, I was about 15 minutes into the movie. I realized that, yeah, I got to get up in the morning and drive home. So start the drive home. So I went to bed. But yeah, I wasn't feeling much pain when I went to bed on Saturday night, I will admit. So
Good.
a great event. I want to say a big thank you to all the volunteers, the marshalers on the trails, the guys who for the dinner on Friday night, who did the auction and everything else, put on the event. I have no complaints whatsoever. I had a few suggestions, which I made in the comment box when they sent out to everybody, but no, absolutely, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, good. We'll put you on the organizing committee then.
No. I have it.
I'm voting for not every year, but maybe every 5 years.
Yeah, I would say yes.
I
Every
think that's my vote too is 5 years.
5 years. I would agree wholeheartedly to that. Maybe do some, and I know they talked about doing this, some local events, more regional events. So doing something on the West Coast, in the Northwest, maybe the East Coast, Southeast, down in Florida, that area. But yeah, do the big one every 5 years. And I think that would be, I know it takes a lot to do, having been involved with some of those things. So yeah, absolutely. 5 years, I'll be there.
All right, we're going to hold you to it. And you'll drive TCM no matter where it is?
Yes.
All right. You
promise.
You promise. You heard it here.
You heard it here live. Yes. I will do that.
This is when we tell you that in 5 years, the next one's already been located. It's going to be in Fairbanks, Alaska.
That's fine.
That would be cool.
Yep.
That would be cool.
I'd be retired by then, so I wouldn't have any. I hope to be retired by the Fairbanks.
I think you have to go through Canada.
Roads. You don't need no stinking roads.
So you can keep up to tradition. You would have to go through Canada to get to wherever the event is.
Yes.
So that would actually maintain your tradition. Or you have to go through British Columbia.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Do you have one activity, one event, one thing that happened at Jubilee that stands out to you?
Oh boy. No, I don't, because I enjoyed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting the people was probably the thing for me personally. I didn't do any of the trail. I did take the ski lift up to watch some of the people on the trails, but no, just the social aspect of meeting fellow Land Rover enthusiasts. And I was parked in the primitive camping because I'm cheap, and I did put a sign on the window. Yes, I drove this here. And the number of people came up and, wow, we don't believe this. I said, yep, I drove it and I've got to drive it home. And we did. So overall, there isn't one particular thing that stood out other than, for me, was the social aspect and meeting the fellow Land Rover enthusiasts, whether they drove Series, Defenders, Range Rovers, Discoveries. No Freelanders, sadly.
No, there was one registered, but it did not show.
I probably broke down a leak.
He drove something else.
Oh, okay.
I know. Well, good effort. Kudos, sir. But it didn't happen.
Yeah. It didn't happen. Well,
so tell us about.
Just registered it for fun, just as a joke. Was never planning on bringing it.
Tell us about your return trip. How did that go? And did you have any issues?
Oh, we had a couple of minor issues on So the return trip, we did not come straight back.
So you're on this high now, by the way. I guess we should put in there, because your truck broke down at the Jubilee within 3.5 hours. It's back on the road. You're excited because now it's back on the road and ready to go. And so now you return home, and I'm trying to hype up the return trip.
Yeah, well, the return trip in itself. So there's a sadness to the return trip in the fact that I was leaving.
Yeah.
And I could have stayed a couple more days. I really could, because it's such a good event. But also the fact that I have to get home because somehow I have to pay for this. So there was that need to get home. But I'd actually planned when it started this whole thing, not to rush home. I allowed myself 7 days to get home. There was this high of, I've had a great weekend, despite the weather not being very cooperative, but I'm English, so I'm used to that. So the journey home was very leisurely. The first day I took my time because I had to earn the trust of the engine again. Okay, I'd done the test run. That was okay, but I'm driving. I got almost 1,000 miles by the time we got back, but I had to earn the trust. So the first day going across New York was earning the trust of the engine, and there's some hills up the Finger Lakes that once I'd got out of the hill country and it did really well, then I was a lot happier. I was a lot more relaxed. I could enjoy the scenery.
Did you have your convoy with you?
No, coming back, the only gentleman, and he's actually did Lake Michigan with me when I drove right, was David Alton from the Twin Cities area. He has his 1966 British military ambulance, ex-ambulance, and he did do the journey there with me and the whole journey back. Also did Lake Michigan with me in 2021. So he's familiar with my quirks, to say the least.
And to be fair, that meat wagon's not going to go much faster than you anyway, so he may as well hang with you.
Yeah, he says he's comfortable at about 50, whereas I'm doing 40. So there isn't that huge difference. And the big difference is on the hills. I actually outrun him on the hills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say 50's ambitious in that thing.
No,
unless you're flat.
Yeah, it's flat. He does 50 on the hills. I will outrun him up the hill.
Yeah,
and
not surprised.
Not surprised. But Dave stuck with me. We'd stop off anything on the way back that we thought would be interesting. We stopped and looked at. We did some museums. So we got back to Ontario and Niagara Falls. We spent a day just relaxing in Niagara Falls. Did the tourist bit, went to the falls and all the stuff around the falls. And then we made our way slowly across Ontario, got back into Michigan, border crossings again. I crossed on the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, which was very simple, painless. And one of the Canadian border guards took a real interest in the Land Rover. She was a lady. She could not believe that we'd actually drove it at that stage about 1,000 miles. And she was like,
did you hold your sign up? You should have held your sign up.
No, I didn't. She actually wanted to look in the vehicle, and it was really funny because she said, I'm not looking for contraband. I'm just more curious how you've lived out of this at this stage 10 days. Well, 8 days or 9 days. And I said, ma'am, I've got 7 more days to go yet. And so she was looking at how I'd set everything up with the ammunition cans, the military ammo cans I'd use for storage, and how everything was. And of course, I have my 3-foot penguin with me. And she's like, why do you have a 3-foot penguin? And I'm like, well, that's my emotional support animal. It's better talking to the penguin than the voices in my head. And she was just so enamored with this. But it was very quick and painless through the border, both actually, and coming back into Michigan on the St. Clair River. And then we took a little detour. We spent the night in Algonac, Michigan. And then the following day, we took a slight detour and we followed the thumb of Michigan, which goes up on the east side, and it follows Lake Huron. The road number is Michigan 25, M25, and it follows the St. Clair River, goes around Lake Huron, and then ends up in Bay City, Michigan. So that was a beautiful, if you go direct, it's 90 miles. If you go around the thumb, it was like 190 miles. So that was beautiful drive, sunny weather, not too hot. Stopped off at a brewery, a pub for lunch and a bite to eat and a drink, and camped in Bay City. Bay City had 2 really interesting museums. There was a Vietnam-era United States Navy destroyer. Most of the volunteers that run the museum served on the ship, so they gave us a really nice tour. Just literally within a mile, there's a museum on fire engines and fire trucks. So we stopped there, and that took quite a bit of the day. And then we just slowly ambled westbound across Michigan. That's when slight minor problem number 2 showed up. I started to run rough again, and I pulled into the campsite. A little intimidation, a little trembly thing. So I started to take the plugs out. I pulled the plug cap off number 4, and they are Bakelite on the Series 1, and it disintegrated in my hands.
Or maybe more closely, they were Bakelite.
That's, yeah, brittle. Anyway, as I pulled it off the cap to take the plug out to check the plugs and see what was going on, the cap fell into 3 pieces. So Dixon it actually gave me a set of spark plug leads just in case something like this happened. Very fortunate that it happened. I had them. The problem is they don't fit my 80-inch.
Ah, well done, Dixon.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
I just took him and said, Dixon, okay, I'll give him, because Dixon obviously is coming to Oshkosh in a couple of weeks for the Earth Show with his other commitment, the DC3, Placid Lassie. Just give me it back when I'll see you in July. In the campgrounds, MacGyvering a modern spark plug cap onto an 80-inch distributor cap, and it worked, and it got me home. That was mishap number 2. One being the engine. Number 2, we slowly worked our way across Michigan sightseeing. Last night, we booked into Ludington State Park campgrounds, and we had to get up bright and early to catch the ferry back across Lake Michigan. So we were nice. We told our fellow campers on either side that we would be up at 5 a.m., which is when most campers do not get up. I basically had supper at the campgrounds, put everything away, just had my tent and my sleeping bag to throw in the back of the 80, and away I went. I've always put the key for the 80 on the transmission tunnel. Get up at 5 a.m., run to the bathroom, quick shower, get in. Oh, look who's appeared.
Oh, yes.
We said his name 3 times and he shows.
Yes, he showed up. Yeah.
The Penguins texted me and reminded me about that you told them that Placid Lassie's supposed to be bringing beer for them.
Yeah. They're looking forward to it, Dixon. You better bring some good stuff. Anyway, back to this. But so I always set the key on the transmission tunnel with my driving gloves, and we got up at 5 a.m., took a quick shower, took my tent down, threw it in the back of the 80, went to jump in to drive off, no key. And I'm like, really? So I'm looking under, and it didn't dawn on me, but my gloves were sat on the passenger side floor, like they'd been moved. And I'm like, really? As quiet as I could, I thought, okay, did I drop them behind the seats? It's whatever. Could not find the keys. Sign of a misspent use, but we hotwired the Land Rover. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
Just hotwired it, drove off, got to the ferry terminal, checked in. We had about an hour to run, so I checked all the boxes, make sure I wasn't dreaming. No, the key was missing. So yeah, I had to hotwire the Land Rover to get it on the ferry, disconnect the battery while we're on the ferry, so nothing, if we hit some rough turbulence, nothing shorted out, and then hotwired it to get off the ferry. In the meantime, I'd left a note, because the campgrounds weren't open. I'd left a note at the entrance that if anybody found a Land Rover key, could they please let me know? And they did call me. Somebody turned the key in. And their best guess is a creature, possibly a raccoon, ran away with the key.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been handling it with cooking and food and all the other stuff. And they have a feeling it probably thought it was a piece of food, grabbed it, ran, realized it wasn't, dropped it, and whatever.
Fortunately, somebody found it.
Fortunately, it was about 100, 150 yards down the road from the campsite where I was. I never left the campsite except to go to the bathroom. So it was taken by something and dropped by something, and they did return it to me. So I got the key back. No more hot wiring.
I think it was the Penguin.
No.
Playing a trick on you.
If anything, you got a good story out of it.
Yeah. No harm done. Just quick hot wire. And then the funny. So
at least the key was dropped by the raccoon and not processed through it.
Yes, that is a good point. That's something I don't even want to consider at this stage. But yeah, that was my leisurely trip back. For a couple of minor things, but pretty much uneventful.
For what, a 7-year-old vehicle? That's fantastic. Yeah. And you had a great event. You had a great time. You had a great trip. And
yes,
can't say more than that.
Can't say more than that. I think it ended up being, actually, see if I can look it up. It was 1,741 miles total. 4 border crossings, 2 into Canada, 2 back into the US, 95 gallons of gas for a return of about 17 miles to the gallon.
How many quarts of oil?
1.5.
Not bad.
No, actually, that did surprise me. I used a little EP90. I had a slight weep and I still have a slight weep on the front passenger side. And then engine oil, I used 1.5 quarts, and that was it. It's actually, that did surprise me more than anything else. I was expecting to use more than that, to be honest.
I would have thought it was more than that, just judging by the sheen on the front of Dave's ambulance.
Oh, Dave was give me grief about that. Yeah.
Oh, as he will.
I just told Dave I'll send him the bill for preservation.
There you go. You were rust-proofing it for him.
I was rust-proofing it, yeah. Yeah, he had some droplets all over it, and I freely admit that. And even on his windshield, I think he had to use Dawn soap on his windshield to get it clean, because I do keep a track of all that, and it was 1.5 quarts of oil for the whole trip. So
that's just not bad.
No, it's not at all.
Importantly, how many miles per gallon?
Oh, that's infinite, +1. Obviously, we've done the podcast, but I've also had a lot of inquiries about it from other people, magazines, vendors, stuff like that. It's taken on a life that I never expected, and I'll be truthful. I drove a Land Rover to an event and back, and the 2 weeks it's been since I've got back has been, my wife has said she's become a Land Rover widow because I've been sat on the computer writing articles. There's one editor down there I can see laughing his head off drinking something. Yes, I did get the OVLR newsletter today, so I got part 1 published, I see.
Yep. The newsletter's going to hit 66 pages if I didn't delay some things. So you're actually in for August.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
So I do think for all the attention you're getting, I think is well-deserved, because you didn't just drive a Land Rover to an event. You drove a 1953 vehicle that really had 1930s design.
You drove the most difficult Land Rover that you could drive to the event.
Yes.
And I don't see it like that. This is what
I know you don't see it like that.
But that's the point. That's exactly my point, is that anyone else would have a hard time with this, and you was just going down the street.
Am I that naive?
I think you are a little bit. You know what the modern driving is like, and most people, it's transportation. It is not, a vehicle is not something more than that. For those of us in the Land Rover community, clearly it is more than just transportation.
Well, you did it right. You planned this out well ahead, what to bring and the packing and everything else. That was half of it. And the other ingenious aspect was using bicycle route to go and avoid all of the super highways, which you do not want to be on. Bicycles aren't supposed to be on the interstates, so you really don't want an 80-inch on there either because of the speed difference.
As evidenced by the little issue you had on the way over. That's clearly the reasons. It's not you driving the truck, it's everyone else around you that's not paying attention.
And it doesn't help any. The truck is the color of wet pavement.
There's that.
Yeah, and the lights are like minute.
They're like one candle power. Yes.
Not very bright. No, I don't know how, I'm humbled. That's the only way to describe it is, 1, I never expected it. And 2, I'm completely humbled that there's all this attention on this poor guy that all I did was drive. And that's what I did it for the enjoyment. And I'm doing it again. A couple of people have already asked me, what's your next adventure? I got news for you guys. I'm working on it as we speak. It's probably not going to happen for a year or 2. I'm probably thinking 2025, because what I do is next year I'll go home and see my mom, who also can't believe I got all this attention.
Those Land Rovers, you'll never get up to any good in those Land Rovers.
Well, she didn't quite put it like that, and I'm not going to repeat it either. She's 84 years old, and I'm leaving it at that. So my next adventure is, and I think we might have touched on this when we saw each other, was the Yellowstone Trail. It's one of the first transcontinental highways, unofficially. It was ran between about 1913 and 1928, when they started to build U.S. highways like the Lincoln Highway and US 2 and things like that. And it runs from Plymouth, Massachusetts to Seattle, Washington. And there's a group founded a new website, the Yellowstone Trail, and they're developing this trail and overlaying the old maps onto new maps and rediscovering the trail. What I found out a few months ago. It's a block off my house.
Okay.
It went through Oshkosh and I live on the 100 block of West 18th, and on Main Street, the Yellowstone Trail went through Oshkosh, through Main Street, Oshkosh. I didn't know that. I also found, and this I only discovered the other night when I was actually looking at this, I've actually drove part of the Yellowstone Trail on my way out to Cortland, New York, because it follows New York 20, which is one of the routes I took across to get to the Finger Lakes. So I've already driven sections of it unknowingly. It's 3,800 miles total, coast to coast.
So you want to drive coast to coast? No.
You're going to do
I think-
Oshkosh and West.
And this is very tentatively, and and those who follow me on my Facebook page and things will get more details as this comes alive. I think the plan is I'll bite my tongue saying this, but it's the only way I see doing this is I will ship the Land Rover to Seattle, then drive back to Oshkosh.
And just drive home. Okay.
And then drive home. And then the following year, I will ship it to Massachusetts, Plymouth, and then drive it back home. So it'll be 2 trips. I don't see me doing an east, or I don't see me shipping it to the West Coast and driving all the way to the East Coast, because I'm fairly central being in Wisconsin. I think it's more doable to do it in 2 halves.
Yep.
But
It makes sense.
So you wouldn't do it the way Bill Cooper did it, where it was trailered back. He had a chase vehicle. But if you had that, and there's more than one person or one run rover, you would drive the vehicle out there and then have it just trailered or brought back.
I could do that. But that is the next one, though. You can put it out there that my next projected trip is the Yellowstone Trail.
Steve, where can folks keep track of your adventures now that you're a known person in the Land Rover community, even though you don't, it doesn't sound like you particularly care for it, but
the Land Rover has its own Facebook page, social media page, which is, if you go on Dixon, you'll probably have to help me out. Type in 1953 Series 1 Land Rover export model. It should come up on the Facebook.
We'll have a link in the show notes, but you are correct. It is 1953 Land Rover SRS1 export model, and that is the Facebook page.
And then it's private. It keep the spammers out and the crap out and the T-shirt sales. It is a private site, but if you request to join,
tell them you heard it here.
Tell them, and I'll just click on it and try to sell me a T-shirt, and it's bye-bye. But try to sell me a Jeep, you'll get more than bye-bye. So, or a Freelander.
Hey.
So
they're desirable.
No comment.
So that is where folks can keep track of your adventures going to the Jubilee, and also keep track of your further adventures as they come up in your Series 1, which you are now the only person to have driven the Series 1 successfully there and back to Diamond Jubilee.
Yes, so I'm told.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic.
He may be the only person overlanding in a Series 1 80-inch right now.
Actually, I just got my copy of Legend, a Series 1 club, and Brendan Ocker in Australia overlanded his to the Coomer event, 75th anniversary, and he beat me by 98 kilometers. He did 2,900 kilometers, and I did 2,800 kilometers.
You're the North American representative.
I'm the North American fool, yes, that did it unknowingly. Yes.
I was being nice and charitable.
If you'd only known his mileage, you could have done an extra lap in Wisconsin somewhere and just put a few on.
Yeah, I've talked to Brendan on Facebook a couple of times, and then I saw the article. I was like, well, he beat me by 98 kilometers. Wow. Well, okay, that's fine.
That's only an extra hour's driving.
That's true.
Hour and a half.
No, he did the same as I did, pretty much. Obviously, and camped and everything. So kudos to Brendan on that one. He did like I did, and neither one of us knew we were doing it. That was quite fun. I talked to him the other day, and it was through Messenger, and that was quite fun. But no, kudos to him. And I will end it with this. If you have a Series 1 or a Series Land Rover, because a lot of the Series 1s at NRAC were also trailered the drive it. Just live it, drive it. All it takes a little planning and a little time, and just enjoy it. It's not a race. Just enjoy it.
I think that's an excellent way to end our second conversation with you, Steve. Thanks very much for coming on the program.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you, Dixon. Harold, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I will now return to normal life. Except Dixon knows that's not true because I got EA8 coming up, and I don't have a normal life till about August.
We hope you enjoyed show number 124. Thanks to our guests this month for coming on the program, Greg and Eric of the Northern California Land Rover Club, inviting everyone to ROVICON 5. It's the Indiana Jones themed edition this year. Hopefully you can make it out to ROVICON 5. And also thanks to Steve Owen for letting us know how that he got back safely from the Diamond Jubilee back to Oshkosh.
I can actually report that the vehicle is actually still running. It is here at Oshkosh at the huge air show here. I saw it running around earlier today with the penguins in attendance. So everything there is healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I just have to go by and get my spare parts back that went with it back to Oshkosh.
So Steve is what, airfield manager or something?
Steve is one of the white line organizers. So when you arrive here, one of the 10,000 airplanes coming in, he actually runs one of the flight lines that will actually go park all the aircraft and move them around and everything else.
Is TCM on the airfield?
And GCM is parked near in amongst all the warbirds, which is probably appropriate since they're all about the same age.
TCM is providing ground support services for Placid Lassie, is it not?
It is providing ground support services for the Placid Lassie mission crew, of course, both being very old and very aluminum type of things.
And which is leaking more oil?
I think it's no contest.
These are Land Rovers, so it is a vigorous competition between both.
You don't need a kiddie pool for a Land Rover.
You hope not. You hope not. And I'm not sure how 120 weight would do in a Land Rover engine.
It might leak out a little slower.
It would. It would stuff that rear main seal leak.
And if you own a black D90, particularly here in North America, although it could have gone anywhere in the world, we don't know, or know anything about it, please contact us or Caroline Pratt. It'd really be great to have her dad's former D90 at her wedding. That would be a nice gift.
An interesting thing to note is it might not be black today. So if you have a D90 that's obviously been repainted and you think it might have been black, you should maybe dig a little deeper. It might be the one we're looking for.
It is number 2552. Your badge has fallen off. Still may be worth taking a look and checking. We do have the VIN. If you think it might be yours and it doesn't have a badge on it and you think it's black, it still might be worth checking out. Send us the VIN or send Caroline the VIN. Double check on.
Maybe we should just have all 95 D90 owners send us a note.
That's it. So let's find that D90 so she can have a nice family connection at her wedding ceremony. And thanks to the One True PAX and the PAX family. They came down to the Vintage Grand Prix. PAX helps us out with our production, especially the audio. Thanks to him, it was nice to see him and his family this past weekend when we're recording this. We post a new podcast at the end of every month. Our website, Centresteer.com, has all our shows you can listen to if you want to go back. And also all the show notes with links to the stories we discussed in today's podcast. You can directly support the podcast at patreon.com/Centresteer. You can also buy a t-shirt, sticker, or even buy us a tea/brown water. The menu on our webpage has the links to everything. And if you have an idea for a guest, send us the details and contact information. If you haven't, love to hear from folks doing wonderful things in the Land Rover community. Thank you for listening, and we'd love to hear from you and what you've been up to in your Land Rover and any Land Rover 75 celebrations maybe you're doing on your own. Let us know. Until next time, I ask you to share the show with one other Land Rover enthusiast.
On behalf of our entire North American-based crew, I'd like to thank you for listening to the Centresteer podcast. We know you have a choice when it comes to your podcasting content, and we do appreciate your choosing us. Please take a moment to look around you for any personal items you may be leaving behind, especially in the overhead bins. Please remember that items may have shifted during the show. Remember to watch your step on the way out, and you may now resume your important things.
Those Land Rovers, you'll never get up to any good in those Land Rovers.